All right, hey there, and hi everyone. Welcome to WizKids Twitch and YouTube channel. You are here for WizKids Paint Party 2, and as you can see, I have two lovely guests with me this afternoon. I am so excited to have with us as our celebrity guest painters. We have Tanya DePass and Noura Ibrahim, and some of you might be familiar with these two fantastic people and all of their wonderful projects that they have going on. But before we jump into everything and I start talking about what we're doing here today, I want to give them each a chance to introduce themselves and let you know where they can find them and everything like that. And keep in mind that we have some lovely chat commands you can use in there. So let's start with exclamation point. Tanya, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know who you are?
Hello, I'm Tanya, Cypher Tier. As you said, I'm on Black Ice Society with Noura. I play Fen, a Drow Dhampir Blood Hunter, with a little bit of beastly seasoning as a level 3. And on Sundays, I am on Rivals of Waterdeep as Celeste Historio, Paladin, well, I should say now Fallen Paladin / Blood Hunter. She had some things happen to her last season. And on my channel, we do Into the Motherlands, which is every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, where I am Invicta High Noble Blade Keeper. I stream on the internet, and I also paint minis, so it works out that we're here.
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled you said yes to doing this because I think it's going to be a fun one to do today for sure. And then we have the lovely Noura.
Hey everyone, I'm Noura Ibrahim. You can find me at Neurological and all the things. And yeah, I am also part of the Black Dice family. I play, oh my God, why am I? My brain is not working this morning. So I'm still drinking my coffee. Hi, I play Noura. Cool. I know my character's name. I'm a fallen Aasimar reborn undead warlock who will not live down forgetting my own name.
What's in a name?
It's fine. We can edit this out. This is pre-recorded, right?
Oh yeah, totally, absolutely.
Totally. On Mondays, you can catch me on Realmsmith TV. I play Esmeralda as a PC in the Curse of Strahd campaign Into the Mist, I think, which is in its 3rd season right now, which is amazing.
Something like that.
On Saturdays, I'm usually on Pixel Circus. We're on a little bit of a hiatus, but I play Jasmine in an all-princess D&D game. Let's see, LA by Night's coming back. I think a lot of you know me originally as playing Eve from LA by Night, which is coming back this year. And soon, it was also announced, I will be in a D&D campaign with the Glass Cannon Network.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And I also want to make sure that we thank our friends over at Idle Champions. There is a code floating around for all y'all if you want to get that code activated, and it's actually quite appropriate because Tanya, don't you have some fun news associated with Idle Champions?
Yes.
That just recently happened?
Yeah, I just got to say it yesterday, so it's still really, it's like that new, oh yeah, that's happening. My character on Rivals of Waterdeep is joining Idle Champions as of Wednesday. And then Thursday, I'll be doing some streams over at CNE Games and introducing Celeste, and hopefully don't embarrass myself playing the game with my character in it.
Fantastic. Okay, I am so happy for you and excited. And I'm just taking a quick look here as to why the code should be activated. So while I get that figured out, folks, let's talk about those paint kits. So if you take a look at the paint kits that you have in front of you, you have, basically, it's an all-inclusive kit. And in that kit, you will find a few things. Let me fix that. That would be why. So you're going to find a few things in there. You're going to find that you have 2 brushes all set and ready to go for you. The first brush is your multi-purpose brush, and your second brush is your details brush. They look similar to each other, but yes, there are some slight differences. Both are round brushes. However, you'll notice that the multi-purpose brush has a thicker bristle to it, and that is for reasons. So make sure when I'm saying to use a particular brush, that is the brush you're using. Because if you keep using your details brush over and over again, what you're going to find happening is your details brush is going to start getting a little bit frayed, and it's going to be harder to hit those finer details. So please, if you're hearing me say multi-purpose brush, jump on in and use your multi-purpose brush. Along with that, you're going to see this lovely little cup, which is actually a water cup that you can fill up ahead of time and have some water in there if you'd like. And You'll also have your 12 paint pots that are coming in the kit that we're going to be using today to help you paint the troll, which is also included. Now, I have already painted up one of these fellows. Say hi and hello. I have not named this guy yet, and I'm still trying to think of a good name. I normally come up with something rather ironic. I'm almost thinking I need to name every single head. We shall see what happens. But your miniature should look like this at this time. This is already primed, which means you don't have to worry about putting any primer on it. They come pre-primed, ready to paint right out of the blister, which means you're ready to go. Some of you more experienced miniature painters may find you want to go in and remove some mold lines. That's perfectly okay. You can use one of the tools. You can use a file. You can use things like that. Perfectly okay to do, but for the sake of just right out of the box, get going, especially for beginners, we're going to just use this as it is straight from the Paint Night kit. Then, but I always feel like there's a, but wait, there's more factor to this, because you have all these things floating around, but believe it or not, whoop, I just spilled water on myself. You have, actually that feels really good because it's a hot day. You have this blister that's going to act as your palette. And one thing I want to make sure you all do is put a little bit of water into the well here, because this is going to be what we're reserving for when we need to make washes today. You want to make sure you're using clean water for your washes. So if you want to, you can take your little cup and pour into that little well there, and then have your little cup filled up again. But just a little heads up, you do want to make sure you are reserving clean water. Reason being, you don't want to use your rinse water for trying to make washes, because you're just going to end up with a muddied mess. So just keep that in mind as well. Now again, I am gearing this for beginners. Okay, so for those of you who are fresh to miniature painting, thank you so much for joining us. I am super excited for it. Also, if you are a store who has joined us, don't forget to throw your information, like, you know, say hi and everything like that in the chat. We'd love to see you. Just keep in mind, we can't do links right now, you know, reasons, but you can at least put in your store name and either your preferred email contact or your phone number contact. So feel free to put that into the chat as we're going along. But since we're going with beginner's mode, I am going to be giving this a step-by-step tutorial. What I am hoping for today, because he's a big one, this is a large mini, I'm hoping that we can get the flesh areas addressed. Everything you're going to learn in terms of techniques for painting the flesh is applicable to all the other bits and pieces that you see on this miniature. I also have it set up where you can do exclamation point instructions, and an instruction guide that will automatically download when you click the link will be available to you, so that if for some reason you don't have a chance to go through and finish this miniature with us today, we'll see how it goes, fingers crossed, you'll have the step-by-step guide that I've created, so you can take what you've learned today and finish up the rest of it. So you go from this to this. How's that sound? Good? We're all on the same page? Awesome. Now, Tanya and Noura, you have experience painting miniatures, correct? Okay, lovely. So then if you have questions for me, by all means, feel free to ask. If you want to add in an extra tip or something like that too, then please, by all means, feel free to add it. That would be fantastic. Last thing before we get started, we're going to have a quick sneak peek and taking a look at our Twitter feed. So if you want to participate and submit your progress shots, just make sure that you tag WizKids on Twitter as well as D&D, and you can also use the hashtag WKPaintParty2. And I'll be stopping every so often as we need paint to dry, and we'll be taking a look at the Twitter feed to see what's going on. All right, so we're going to jump into this now. Now that we've got all these lovely introductions happening, you're going to want your multi-purpose brush, and you're going to want to jump into refractive green. Okay, so this one right here. And you may find, I already did shake my pots a little bit. You may find you want to shake your pots just a little bit, because sometimes the paint pigments can settle and separate. And hello, the Valet de Cour store from Montreal. And hello, Sharp Gaming. Oh, it's lovely to see the game stores jumping in there. Ah, nice. Geek Me too. Well, Geek Me, comma, I'm saying too, in addition to. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so once you have that shaken up a little bit, it should be a nice, almost like an army green color. You can see here, I still have a little bit of paint separation there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my details brush, take the other side of my brush, not the brush side, okay, take this side, and I'm just gonna use the base of my brush to mix this. And this is why it is good to have on hand some paper towels. So I'm just gonna do some manual mixing here and pull as much as I can off on the edge of the pot, which you can see me doing in the distance. And I'm just gonna quickly use a paper towel and clean off the end of my details brush, so that way, just in case, will be set to go. Now, when it comes to using miniature paint, you'll find sometimes there's this joke that floats around, thumbs up if you heard this before, thin your paints. The reason why people say thin your paints is because sometimes paints will come in different consistencies, and you want it to have sort of the consistency of maple syrup. I like to use food references because it makes it easier for people to identify what kind of state I'm talking about. So if you find that you're getting a paint that comes out and it is very much like toothpaste or something like that, or even ketchup, that means it is too thick and you want to thin your paint. So really all you would need to do is you can take one of the wells here, and I'm actually going to thin mine just a little bit. You can take one of the wells here. I'm going into that clean water reserve, and I am dipping my brush in full just to get some drops put into the bottom here. And then I'm going to go into the refractive green, and I'm actually going to take the base of my brush again. And you can see.
Let me make sure I have the right green. You said reflective green?
Refractive green. Yep, it is the 70.890 code on the top. It looks like the army green one.
Okay.
When you open it up.
Gotcha.
And that's the other thing I'm going to try to do if for some reason, because this Dire Troll is out in blister form. So if it is something where you have decided that you want to paint along, but you picked up the blister Dire Troll, that's okay, and you have paints at home, I'm going to do my best to give you references of colors that are similar to what Vallejo has going, but use more generic terms. So if you're starting with us and you don't have Vallejo paints, Army Green is going to do the job. So I'm just going to go through, mix this up a little bit, and now I have this nice mapley syrup consistency. You can see it comes right off my brush. It doesn't stick on thickly. And I'm just basically going to go in after I wipe the handle off and start painting where there is flesh on the troll. This is going to take a little bit of time because, he's got a fashion sense. It's a little bit more, open and perfect for summer wear, but basically we're going to be getting this everywhere. Now, don't worry if you slip and you get it on things like the loincloth or into the mouths and things like that, because we have steps coming up later that will help remedy and correct if you had little oops-a-daisy mistakes that happen. That's one thing I always encourage when people are first starting to learn how to paint minis. Don't worry that it has to be perfect when you apply that color the first go around. There's always a way to go back and fix and tweak it. More often than not, it just relies on having patience and letting it dry. So I'm just going to go in right away and I'm just going to start applying the paint. Again, you don't want this to be too thick, because if you go in with a paint that's too thick, it's actually going to start collecting into all the wonderful nooks and crannies, and then you lose details in your miniature as you start adding on more colors. So you do want this to be a thin coat. You may even find that you want to go back, especially if you want this to be more of a solid tone, you can go back in and do a second layer of this color. But here's the important thing. You want to make sure you let those colors dry in between, because if you try to apply paint to wet paint, you're going to run a very high risk of pulling the paint off the miniature entirely and have bald spots essentially. So just a little tip there. So right now it's just a matter of getting this green everywhere there's flesh, and you're going to want to move your miniature around and everything like that. This is a big fellow. Pretty soon I'm going to move to just holding it by the base to manipulate it as I get more paint on. You can opt to use a mini paint holder if you have one. If you don't have one, you can also use a pill bottle, an empty pill bottle. Either fill it up with water, rice, sand, put the cap back on, and if you have blue tack or double stick tape, put that to the top of the cap, and then you put the base of the mini onto that, and it acts as a quick DIY miniature holder for painting. So that's another thing you can do. But as you can see, I'm just moving around and getting the paint on. That's really what step one is. Paint the troll refractive green. That's it. I know it's really technical. And again, don't worry if you slip and get it in different spots. So while we're painting, I'm going to ask you two questions.
Yeah.
You are free to answer them. You can also say, nope, if you so choose. But since we're painting minis, how did you get into mini painting? I always love to find out what got people started with like their first mini. So, Noura, I'm going to start with you. Do you remember what got you into it?
Yeah, it was just very shortly after I started playing D&D, and it's just the whole like, oh, I want to paint my character miniature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I only started, like, I painted a few after that, and I didn't do it so frequently. But then the pandemic happened, and I found that during all the anxiety inducing everything going on, that it was the activity I can do that was kind of calming.
Yeah, definitely. It gives it a whole Zen factor, because that comes up
Yeah.
too when people talk about painting their miniatures.
Yeah.
So that's always, I love it when you get to that point where it's just like it gets nice and quiet and you have that focus going on and everything else just kind of melts away. So what was the first mini you painted then? And I'm gonna bug Tanya.
I know I don't remember the exact one that was for my character, but the first monster was a beholder.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else did I paint? I'm trying to think of like the really early ones. It wasn't a troll. Was it a troll? It was a troll.
Oh, really?
It wasn't a dire troll.
I was gonna say,
but
was it a dire?
It was not. It was not.
Very cool. All right, Tanya, you are up. What got you into painting minis?
I'm trying to remember because I feel like I got into minis a little bit when I was much younger and was early on playing D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got out of the habit because, like most of the rest of our hobby, it's not cheap. And to really, really get into minis, you can expend a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I fell out of the habit, between work, school, etc. It was just like, one day I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
And
That's
then,
That's why I love that these come with the paints that you need with them. I thought that was really clever and helpful.
Yeah. It's kind of the all-in-one stop and shop.
Yeah. And then like Noura, it's like, well, I'm stuck inside and I try to be a creative person, but I can't draw, can't sing. So I was like, but I stream and people seem to enjoy watching me paint minis. So why not? And then when Vee sent me some kits to open, I was like, well, I have all these minis now. I guess I should paint them. And Amazon and my local FLG got a lot of my money for paints.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your first mini was?
No, but one of the first ones I did on stream was actually one of the other paint night kits. It was the Manticore.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
And maybe on a break.
Oh, yeah.
I'll grab him.
That'd be awesome if you want to show them off. That would be very cool. Yeah, as you can see, I'm moving this guy around and I'm trying to get into all these little, there are a lot of angles. So do not be surprised as you go around that you may be painting and realize, hold on, there's like a white spot there. That is totally normal. That is going to happen. In fact, sometimes as the paint dries and it mattes down, you don't have the light reflecting back to you. So it's a lot easier to see those little spots you may have missed. You can just go back in and paint in those little areas you may have missed before. And yes, Obo Lauren, absolutely. So much skin. There is a lot of skin we have to cover here.
One thing I found, especially as I got more into some of the minis, there are angled brushes that are sold either by themselves or sometimes in kits. Because I was hitting that. That's a really weird little stripe of unpainted mini. How do I get there? Like near his loincloth and his butt.
I love the fact that this is now the second time for these WizKids paint party we've brought up the fact of miniature butt, because the last time, oh god, with the slod,
Greg was so
it's like, how do you tactfully address this? But yeah, absolutely. Tanya brings up an excellent point. There are those angled brushes that you can purchase. Really handy tool. You can also make your own if you're feeling adventurous and you have a pair of pliers, and you basically just put about a 45-degree angle bend right here, but you have to make sure your pliers are crushing that spot and not anywhere else on the brush, or you might run the risk of crushing your handle. So I have done that in the past if you need an angle brush right quick and you don't have one in your arsenal of paintbrushes. But yeah, those are super, super helpful.
Like, this is a troll that is very comfortable in their body.
Mm-hmm.
They're not confined to clothing.
No.
A lot of green.
So I hope, I was going to say, I hope y'all like the color green because we're going to be seeing a lot of green today. I was painting the first one and I had that Kermit the Frog, "It's not easy being green," stuck in my head.
My God.
I'm probably totally dating myself too, but whatever. But yeah, that was definitely on my mind in terms of
Troll, why do you have one bracelet on your ankle? Why?
right. There's a lot of little things happening.
Because it's summertime.
It's an anklet.
They're beach ready.
It's the summer anklet look. Kermit is always relevant, says Garar. Here for the first time, Mindless Systems. Local shop is doing a paint night soon. Oh, yay! Well, welcome to Painting Minis. Happy to have you join us. I'm also trying to paint from top to bottom as best I can, but then I also find as I'm painting, I kind of keep going down a path and I realize, oh wait, there's 3 other heads to paint. So really, like, my best tip, folks, is just keep putting green on the body.
And now, is it okay to paint over like the entire head, teeth, mouth, everything?
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
or
you absolutely can go in and paint over those areas because I've worked it out that we're going to go back in with other paints and it won't be an issue. Especially like, because you'll notice they're like some tinier faces that are literally popping out. Yeah, those, don't even worry about it. Like, you can paint those green. We'll go back in and we'll address it so that you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, everything except for the loincloth and those armbands gets green.
Well, his legs are there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also gonna be leg day.
Our dire troll did not skip leg day.
No. The musculature is ridiculous. And you can see here, like, I have gotten a little bit of green onto the loincloth edging, which honestly, that's not a bad thing to do because when you go back in to put the red on for the loincloth, you get a nicer seam between the two and you don't have that glaring strip of white that can sometimes stick between the two if you're very careful about your edging. So if you have a little bit of overlap, totally cool, totally okay. Especially, again, if you're just new to this, those happen all the time and it's totally cool. So then, do you guys have a favorite mini that you've painted? Like one that you keep out and like you couldn't wait to share and show off when you finished it up?
I do.
Yeah?
It's I painted a gargantuan skeletal dragon.
Ooh.
Which I think is from the Pathfinder WizKids series. And that one it is a big boy.
Yeah.
Like, it is a big, and it took me a while, but I really loved getting to be able to do a lot of detailing on the wings. And I gave it that whole, like, because there's holes in them, and I gave them that whole, like, singed paper look to it.
Nice.
So I was super proud of that one.
Now, that is a really cool looking one. I haven't had a chance to paint really anything like that of that stature. But, yeah, those are... I like that you gave it the burnt paper look, too. Definitely want to see a picture.
Yeah, I think it's up on my...
Is it on your Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget, if you type an exclamation point Noura, you'll get, her information. You can find her on Twitter, and from Twitter you can go and find her elsewhere. So I definitely recommend you do the whole, socials train. Find and follow. What about you, Tanya? Was there one that you did and you were just, like, super psyched about when done?
Like, it's actually behind me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm having that. I know what this thing is called. An owlbear. That would be it.
Aw. Yes. Owlbears for the win.
And I'm like, it's right behind me. Why can I not remember what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
There's one where I finally felt like I was understanding how to do washes.
Oh, nice.
Because people in the stream are like, so what are you going to wash it with? And I had that really silly moment of, I'm sorry, what?
I'm going to do a what now?
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean wash it?
Yep.
Other people were just like, oh no, this is this is a way to like get a texture look without actually like
Going, yeah. No, it's true. I had the same thing when I was first starting to get into painting miniatures. Because a lot of my painting miniatures comes from my art background of like using watercolors and oils and things like that. And a friend of mine was saying, well, what if you tried doing a wash? And I was like, but I thought, and literally thinking like, dunk it in water with soap. Like, you're not supposed to wash them. That's what I'm thinking. And he took the time to explain. He's like, no. It's this kind of a concept. So it was really cool to learn about washes and miniature paint application. And it's always great how I found many people in the mini painting community are ready to jump in and help out if you ask for it too, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, quite a few people in my Discord do minis,
Mm-hmm.
both just for fun, for their campaigns, for content.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I love seeing people's painted minis in Discord.
It's always fun.
Vee, do you have a favorite?
That I painted. Oh, geez. See, that always gets to be tricky for me because I've painted some really nice ones now. I think, honestly, the most recent, and she's not anywhere near me at all, is the Asperia from the Magic the Gathering line that WizKids just did, like the first round. It is a sphinx-like creature with these extended out wings. And it's this gorgeous color palette of pale golds and pastel purples and blues and ivories. So it's a gorgeous character in Magic the Gathering. So to be able to paint the mini using the artwork from Magic the Gathering, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And
Nice.
it's funny because I used to have that sitting up behind me on my little display chest of drawers. But I removed her recently. But yeah, that's definitely one of my more recent favorite ones that I've done because I am a sucker for feathers and fabric, is what I'll say. I love it when I can sit down with a mini and like sit there and bring out the details on the feathers and on the fabric and everything like that. Like I will lose hours to those fine details without question.
Nice.
Yeah. But definitely that one.
All right, I think I need to mix in more paint.
Yeah, you may find as you start moving along that you're going to need more paint. You may even need to add a little bit more water, especially if you're not working with a wet palette, which if you're using the blister, you're not. It's okay if you dip your brush into a little bit and add a little bit more water into your mixed paint just to thin it back out again. Because if you're dealing with, a hot day like I am, then you may find your paint is drying a little bit faster.
Yeah, it's nice and toasty here.
Mm-hmm. Samesies. And ironically, because the natural light was flaring out the miniature too much, I had to pull the curtains so my windows are open, but the airflow is gone.
Oh,
So now it's just like, okay, studio lighting and, I'm feeling dewy. Absolutely feeling dewy. Okay, let me take a look here. Oh, well, Lauren said she had the same wash what moment as well.
yay, we're not alone.
Yeah, I think that's one of those, it's not like it's a hidden secret. I think it's just one of those, it's not as common knowledge of a technique when people are first getting into painting. Unless, okay, this is weird. I know someone who's a baker and she does like those really gorgeous ornate cakes that don't look like cakes.
Ooh.
Yeah, she knew what a wash was because like they do something similar with fondant. So it's like,
Oh, I have seen that.
yeah. So it's not the exact same thing, obviously, but it's a similar concept where you take, I want to say it's like almost like a powder and like you brush it on to bring out the grooves and stuff in the fondant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, that's really cool. Or you use, obviously, consumable ink, color safe stuff. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a neat thing where she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like, oh, okay, you're like the first person I know who I've been talking about miniatures with and knew what a wash was. I swear the arms are, you turn and you think you got everything. And it's nah. Nope.
Yep.
Not at all. You thought what you thought was going to happen. So again, if you are joining us today, we're focusing on getting the flesh taken care of for obvious reasons. But if you want a chance to be able to finish up your miniature, I have typed up a guide in terms of how I approach the miniature and how I painted up this guy. So if you want to be able to get a recreation of this after hanging out with us and getting a few of the techniques under your belt, all you need to do is type in the chat !instructions, and you'll get a downloadable link. All you have to do is click the link and it downloads for you of the guide that'll walk you through what you can do step by step, including the colors and everything like that. So just a little tip.
Yeah, one of my friends who does mini painting is actually in the chat and says washes are talent in a bottle.
They really are. Oh my gosh, they can totally change the look of a mini completely and utterly, which is really cool to see, especially depending on, like, everyone jokes around that a black wash is sort of like the one you want to make sure you absolutely have in your arsenal, because it definitely helps bring out shadows and details. I also recommend like a brown wash or an umber wash. That's another good one to have on hand. And today, yeah.
Oh, I should say the brown ones are nice for giving like an antique look to certain minis.
Oh, yeah. It's also great for armor. Like if you have
One day.
armor.
One day I'll get there.
There you go. One day we'll get to that point where maybe we'll hopefully get the wash on this guy. Really, it's getting this green on him that's going to take the greatest amount of time. So,
are you painting over the armbands or leaving the armbands?
I left the armbands because they're kind of big enough, so I'm just painting around them. But if you want to paint over them, you totally can do that.
No, I left them, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. As long as the skin is green, you're good. And quite frankly, we're going to have some dry brushing coming up, so the armbands may get some additional color, which is why, that's actually why I saved the other the bits of the miniature for later, because I know I'm going to treat the skin first and do all the detail work on that. And then when it comes time to working on the other areas, that's where, you know, I don't have to worry about as much of, oh, well, I have to really control where this brush is going, so I'm not getting this color on the armbands. It's sort of like approaching it like how you would get dressed. I paint the minis as you would get them dressed. So you start with the skin and then you build up to your other layers. Sort of the way I do it to make it a little easier on myself. Oh my gosh, I still have this guy's face to do on the other side.
He's a beefy guy.
He is.
My immediate was like, which face?
It's just hold on, which side?
Which one?
The one on the back. The one on the back that almost looks like, don't laugh, it reminds me of Bert from Mary Poppins, that grin he gets every so often.
Yeah.
Like the old Julie, like the
God, I haven't thought of Mary Poppins in forever.
Me either.
I just was watching on Disney Plus, I was watching something. Oh, I think it was the live action Aladdin, and they had Mary Poppins next to it, the new one, which I haven't seen yet. So I think Mary Poppins has kind of been on my mind without realizing it. Okay, so I think I have all of the heads atop painted. Nope, this guy has a chin I have to reach. If I pull out a frame, folks, it's because there are angles you just cannot get with the camera sitting in your lap. Trust me on that one.
Oh, that's real.
Yeah. Like, there are just sometimes I'm like, I truly cannot, between the camera and the mini, get to what I need to get to with my brush. It doesn't work that way.
Yep.
Yeah. I always wind up at some point holding the mini in such a weird, like, angle.
Yeah. Okay, do you have a detail face? You know what I'm talking about? Like, when you're painting, like, a really specific detail on your mini, do you get a specific facial expression?
Like a concentration face. Like when
Yeah. Yeah.
if I do, I don't know about it.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to watch this stream later.
There you go.
On VODs and see like
Right? Because I had no idea I did it until I was painting one day, and my community, they were like, oh, there's Vee's concentration face. And I was like, I'm sorry, the what? But like, you get this little like look on your face, and mine is I'll like stick my tongue out and just like really get into the grooves of stuff. So yeah, it was a funny thing to have pointed out to me, and I was wondering if either of you have had that pointed out to you too. It's like, oh, you have your concentration face.
Not that I know of.
I don't know because most of the time when I do minis, the camera is just on the mini.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because previously I didn't have that much room.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like people could see me and I could paint and talk, or they could see the mini.
Yeah. So do you think now with the new setup you got going, you're going to try and do a kind of like what we're doing here, a mini and a cam?
Yeah, the extra table that was in my bedroom is now holding the 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a camera now attached to it. So I just need to figure out where to put a second cam and a laptop so I can see chat.
There you go. I think I've finally found like the sweet spot for the setup I have currently. But that took a few tries of different angles and everything too. Especially once I got a new camera, which is so much better than my other ones. And I'm thrilled about. Let's see here.
Logitech very kindly sent me their stream cam.
Mm-hmm.
But it has USB-C, which I didn't realize till it got here. So somewhere in all of the yet to be unpacked boxes is an adapter.
There you go. I think what I'll do is at the top of the next hour, because we've been doing this for about half an hour now, almost 40 minutes. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. I'm going to hop over to Twitter to show progress shots of what people are doing. So if you're painting along with us and you want to show us how you're doing, yes, we understand that everyone is painting green right now. But if you want to kind of get involved with it, I'm going to hop over to Twitter in about 20 minutes. So make sure you take your photo and you use that hashtag WK Paint Party 2. If you type in without the 2, we're going to see a whole bunch of red slot again. But type that in and you can tag WizKids on Twitter, and you can also tag Dungeons and Dragons official account there too. And we'll take a look at who is sharing and who is painting along with us. And again, if you're a store and you missed the announcement when we were first getting things started, by all means, make sure in the chat that you shout out your store's name. You could even put in your store's city location if you want to. If you have an email address that people could contact you at, or a phone number, by all means, go for that. We just can't do links because if we open up links to everybody, sometimes things happen that aren't good. So that is why we can't have links generally posted.
People messed it up for everyone else.
You know, there's always that one or two who's gotta, pull a wise guy move. But that's why we can't have links in the chat. Yeah, those wise guys, I tell you. All right. I am moving on to the arms. I think I'm finally done with the heads. Beefy boy. I think I might have to pick a movie and then thematically name the heads off the movie.
I was trying to think of either cartoon characters or band members.
Oh, a band. That would be fun.
Ooh.
That would definitely be fun. And let's hear. It looks like someone activated the code for Idle Champions, which is fantastic. Make sure you keep doing that. You can get a code to an Electrum chest and get some goodies to use in-game. Thank you again, Idle Champions, for passing that along to us. Super appreciate it. And Lauren for hanging out in the chat with us, painting her own dire troll.
Oh?
Yeah.
I want to see.
I want to see too. So Lauren, you better be using the hashtag again. We're going to be taking a look soon. Please and thank you. That will be appreciated. So then, Tanya, with getting a character in Idle Champions, how does that work in terms of the process? Is it just like they approach you and say, hey, want to use your character? Or how does that pan out? Because I've always been curious about that.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I can or can't say. But just so people know, it's not a quick process.
I was wondering about that.
We've been working on Celeste since last year.
Oh, wow.
No, there's the character concept, there's the move set, there is, are you okay with this art? Is there anything you change? Is this okay? Then once you okay it, it moves on to her items and her armor. So it's actually a very long process that thankfully I was involved in. It wasn't just like, you signed off on using your likeness. Goodbye. We're going to do what we want.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, do they sort of like do you give permission and they just take over and go, or if there you get more? So it sounds like you get to be part of the process, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I would get an email with here are her items. Do they look okay? Does the description sound okay? Everything you saw in her blog post was something I said okay to. So it wasn't just, oh, this is what we think, and we're just gonna run with her. And it's interesting because I did not realize how deeply invested people were in Idol Champions until the stream where she was revealed by griddle art. It was cool to see her be a pancake.
Yeah.
But it's hard because we knew the date and everything for so long. That's one thing. Is like, well, I know this information. I have to hold on to it.
Right.
Dagnabbit, I got his loincloth.
It's okay. We can cover that up later.
She was revealed by griddle art.
That's fun.
But it's really cool, and it's really fun for someone who loves both gaming and D&D, and all of us get to do this professionally and be nerds professionally. It's really, really cool, and I've already determined I will never ever look at anything about her on Steam or Reddit because people.
That can definitely be a thing.
Sharif made that mistake.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate to hear.
Yeah. Well, like, I guess people really min-max the game and are hardcore in stats and building their party. And Lauren may yell at me. I didn't realize it was that serious for people. I thought it was literally, more of it's in the name, an idle game.
Right. Yeah.
There are people that are deeply invested in stats and what number she is in the rotation and like whose slot she takes. And I was like, it's cool to be in a game, but gamers.
Yeah, there's definitely times where you get the ones who are devoted to what they create. Absolutely. And how they want things to run. I'm very much of the mindset where if someone has done something really cool, applaud it. It's something fun to celebrate. And if it's not for you, skip over it, move on. Very, very easy to do.
Oh, how are you?
Right? Get moving or someone's going to not want to make sure you are moving.
Yeah, I just saw there are a couple people that were just like, what's this? And where did she land in the rotation? And
oh, wow.
Just go play the game and enjoy it.
See, I didn't know that was a factor.
that people got so into it's just so fantasy football heated, like when people get super into their teams, and I have no idea. I'm I don't.
Samey.
Just, hey,
absolutely the same.
It's a cool character, y'all. I don't.
You're like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
this level of fervor, I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. I'm well, I'm glad you're enjoying it to that extent. I'm just gonna go over here and plunk around and kill an hour. Yeah.
So I mean, it's it's really cool, and it's not something I ever thought would happen. Because I started really doing stuff professionally just in the last 5-6 years. So it's wild to me to get paid to play D&D, and now I'm a character, and all the cool stuff we get to do. I get to hang out with you two and paint minis and talk on the weekend.
Yeah, it is
wild.
If you
it's
had
a fairly new thing for me too.
Same. I mean, if you had told me 3.5 years ago I'd be here, I'd be like, yeah, no. I'm sure, that's what you think.
You're like, that's nice. Good joke.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that kind of leads into another. And by the way, we're still painting green. If you're painting and you notice little spots crop up as things are drying, just go in. You can put a little extra green paint on there, and it's totally cool. You'll find that I am doing that every so often. I think that we'll be able to sort of bypass doing a second coat because of the dry brushing we'll be doing. But if you have glaring bits of white sticking out, definitely do try to get in there and make sure you get some paint into those white spots. If it's a little bit streaky, the dry brushing should help cover it up a little bit more. But if it is a glaring white spot, definitely go back in and try and get more of that green into that spot. So that's a little painting update for everyone. But what I want to know is, how did you get pulled into doing the tabletop gaming thing and ending up on streams type of stuff?
I'm gonna let Tanya start this one.
Okay. I was going to see which one of you wanted to jump in on that one first.
Let's see. So I actually had gotten out of tabletop for a very long time. Just, there was no inclusion. There was no one, like me really playing. I didn't see people like me, yada, yada. And it just, also, I kept running to the DMs that would assign you a 40, 50-page PDF and expect you to have read it in a week like we were in college. And I was like, I don't know what you think I do outside of this game, but no. And then would be mad if you hadn't read it and basically knew it. So I got out of it, and then with 3.5, I was in a long-term campaign with friends, and that lasted 3.5 years. We maxed out. We got to like level 22, I think.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like we went from 1 to 20 or 22.
Sweet.
It was a long-running game. Like, those games where you're like, well, we've played so long, I might as well sleep here.
Wow.
Yeah, but again, it was between work, school, life balance. I just didn't have that kind of free time. But then Greg, our friend Greg Tito, reached out and I was like, hey, I'd like to have you on Dragon Talk, because he followed what I do with Diverse Games. And we're like, sure. And I tell the story all the time. I'm like, I didn't realize till the morning we were going to do the show that he meant like the official D&D podcast. And I was like, okay, hopefully I will not make a fool of myself on this podcast. But we talked, and I talked about like the things that led me away from D&D and away from tabletop. And this was when 5e was just coming out. So Greg, being the wonderful human he is, got me all set up with D&D books again, and I was raring to go. Kind of got into it, did one-shots here and there, and then he reached out and asked me about what would become Rivals. It's like, hey, do you know people, and would you have an interest in being on a show? And I was like, sure. And that's when I reached out to Brandon, Sharif, and Cicero and said, hey, do you want to try this thing? And they were like, okay. And Brandon and Sharif had not ever played D&D. So our premiere as Stream of Many Eyes was the first time some of them had touched a D20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
That's so sitting on that stage and playing in front of all those people, and and the people watching at home on Twitch. For some of us, was the first time playing, and it was my first like real stream game.
What an experience!
It was wild. It was like my first like long time trip to LA, and it was just like I was an anxious being, and it was also where I got to meet a lot of people that I call friends now.
That's amazing.
That one is the one that I met most people that I know now at.
Very cool.
when
Yeah.
they did, yeah, the Water Deep
Mm-hmm.
D&D Live.
Yep. Are either of you painting over the hair on that one head?
I'm hitting parts of it. If I get it, I'm not too concerned because, quite frankly, that's gonna be black, so it's gonna get blurred out really quick once the black paint goes over it. So yeah, don't worry about that at all. I did see in the chat someone pointed out that they're starting to use a larger brush. Actually, yeah, if you have a brush arsenal and you have larger brushes, by all means, you can tap into those brushes and use your bigger brushes. I am using what is available in the kit itself. The kit comes with the 2 brushes, the multi-purpose and the detail brush. So for those of us using the kit supplies, we have 2 brushes from which to work, which means we're painting, and we're painting, and we keep painting. Green. We're still on the green. Noura, what about you? What kind of pulled you into tabletop?
So I had heard of D&D when I was much younger, but I didn't know anybody who played.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the name floating around. And years later, into like way into my adulthood, a few years ago when I moved to LA, I was doing my master's in Chinese medicine and totally like not in this world at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I had grown up doing choir, and I was a big theater nerd, like all growing up.
Same.
And I had somehow, like in a space, I had met Jason, Carl, and Satine, and a few other people who played.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember talking to Jason about role-playing games, and I was like, like the inner theater nerd in me was like, yes, I need to do this. I need to play. So Jason was my first DM, and he ran the Curse of Strahd campaign for me. So it's so crazy now to think, like, circling back, that we're doing Black Dice Society and Jason's Strahd, and all of this is just like so surreal to me, to be like here, like knowing like just a few years ago that that's where I started. And then there was a game that I played with Jason and Satine and Rudy and Cynthia. And it wound up that was kind of like an audition. Cynthia wound up on Sirens, and I wound up on their Inkwell Society show on Maze. And so that was my first time streaming ever. And it was so different from like any of the acting, because I'd never done improv. I'd always, everything I've ever done was scripted. And so it was a whole new arena. And on top of that, I enjoyed the game so much, but then being like, doing this in front of a camera was like, oh, this is a whole different animal. And they made me do announcements, which I hated doing because people would like literally scribble down what they were doing that week and like throw it at me in like the last 30 seconds before going on air.
Was studying your quick scribble notes.
Yeah, I'm like, but then LA by Night happened shortly after that. I did meet most of the people I know today from D&D Live. And just one thing always opened a door for another thing. And here I am.
That's wonderful. Very cool. See, and I never would have guessed, having caught both of the events that you each talked about, that was a first for either of you. Neither of you even came off as this was your first trip around type of situation whatsoever.
I've been streaming for years. So, on the one hand, I'm used to, there's a camera on me, but I'm used to streaming versus I'm sitting in front of a studio audience. That's what unnerved me more. Not the fact that it was being streamed on Twitch, because I forgot I had advantage on a roll.
Oops.
And I think it was maybe Chris Perkins that yelled out. It's like, don't forget you have an advantage. Which normally I would have yelled at him for backseating.
Yes. I was going to say.
I would have normally absolutely been like, stop backseating me. But I don't think I knew what Chris looked like at that point. So I may not have known. like that's who that was. So I still would have probably yelled at him. But we were running down the clock to solve our puzzle.
Uh-huh.
Because you remember at Stream of Many Eyes, all the games were interwoven.
Right, yeah.
So if we had not solved our part of it,
Oh, yeah.
like it would have changed the next stream.
Mm-hmm.
So we all were like, oh God, we're gonna like not make it. And we barely made it.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's a little nerve-wracking right there. But very cool in terms of getting pulled in and doing more and more of the projects that have come your way. And you both have gotten into some fantastic groups of players, DMs, GMs, even systems. I know, well, Tanya, you're doing Cortex system with Motherlands, which is a beautiful game.
The stream game is using Motherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because it's so different than D20 system.
Mm-hmm.
And I played a little Vampire with Dave. So it's different even than that all D10s.
The D10, yeah.
So it makes me really think. What I like about it is it makes me think about my actions.
Interesting.
Because it's a pool.
Uh-huh.
I build the pool based on what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So it really favors if you're more narrative driven versus I'm just gonna go murder everything.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that is a very cool point. Okay, I am at the legs. So, I'm sorry, you were going to say, Noura?
Oh, I was just going to say that I find that playing other gaming, there's always something from one gaming system that helps you out going back to another one and rethinking how you exist in that space.
Yeah.
I know that Cthulhu for me, for some reason, playing Cthulhu, when I go back to playing D&D now, I have a different kind of spatial awareness that I know was improved by playing. So there's always something that I feel like I gain from one system that helps me going back to another one.
Mm-hmm. Very much, yeah. Completely agree.
Cortex makes me think about my actions in other games. Is this necessarily the best path? The best course of action?
Especially when in some systems you're way squishier.
Oh boy, yeah.
In general.
Yeah. One decision can change it completely for you.
Yep.
With a different system. But okay, so I'm in the leg zone. It's leg day for me now. I am going to hop over in a couple minutes to take a look and see how everyone's doing with their big green boys.
I'm just about done with all the flesh, so I'm gonna wait for it to dry, go back over some other
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you are finding spots, if you're getting to a point of almost done, definitely spin your dire troll buddy around.
The 3 of the 5 hands.
The hands, yeah. Oh my god, there are a lot. Some are a little trickier because they're more clenched.
Yeah.
I hear you on that one for sure.
This is where I regret that my paintbrush, all my mini stuff is not fully unpacked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely a larger brush, makes for faster work. For sure. So if you have the luxury of, like I said, if you want to grab a larger brush, especially for when we get to dry brushing, you can by all means switch over to a larger brush. I know many find that easier. And I'm not getting too precious about what's happening underneath. You can see that I'm getting a little bit of green on the shorts area. That's totally okay. Again, you can go back in when it comes time for the next round of paint colors for that section. It'll get covered up, no problem. It happened when I did this guy, and let's see if we can look in his undercarriage. As you can see, no harm, no foul. It is a brown color. So it'll all be okay. I'm almost...
Long fingers.
Oh God, a couple of those hands, yeah. But I am in the home stretch with the last leg, no pun intended.
Oh, come on.
No, I have a very bad habit of doing that. I will say stuff and then I realize what I've just said. I'm like, oh, I totally walked into that one.
Oh, I do puns without meaning to
Yeah.
99%
Yeah.
of the time.
Nice.
But then when I do it on purpose, you can tell because I get a little evil smile.
Oh, yes, same. I get a little grin. So, yeah, like you can tell when I've totally meant to do something. It's like,
What is the hashtag again? Someone is
the
asking.
hashtag is WK Paint Party 2, and it's the same one that you can see floating right underneath this Chonker's almost painted leg. Just plug that in, and we'll be able to find you on. We're going to be looking at the Twitter feed for this one, since Twitter is lovely and lets you look at the latest posts and everything like that. So we'll be hopping over there. And I do highly recommend that when we are done today, again, I'm hoping we get the flesh addressed, a good chunk of his body done. I do recommend go and check out the hashtag after the stream is done, because I did that with the last paint party. There were such cool shares happening on other social media too. So it was really fun to see what other people were doing and how other people completed their minis. So keep using that hashtag, even if you don't finish this mini today, use it when you do finish the mini and you go to share it. So that way we can kind of take a look back and see what's going on. It's just a nice way to keep an eye on everything as everyone's making progress.
Yeah. V, do you have any recommendations, like if someone has like mobility issues, or like if sitting here holding a mini like this would be help for them after a while?
Yes, if you have, in terms of sort of shaking or stability issues, a lot of times what will happen, and this is more often how I will paint a miniature because I don't normally paint with a camera in front of me. So if you're finding, let me push myself back a little bit. If you're finding you have trembling hands, what you want to do is hold your mini as if you're in prayer, like this, and then you pull the mini in close to you and shift your one hand to rest against the base of the mini while locking in your left or right arm, depending on which one isn't your painting hand. Lock in that arm, and that way, the closer you hold the mini to your body, the more stable it is for you if you have control issues with your hands. So that's a little trick there. If it's a matter of you have more of an arthritic issue where it's harder to hold things, I mentioned a pill bottle before. What helps is if you get something larger than a classic pill bottle, like you know how like vitamin bottles are big, thick bottles? If you use a larger pill bottle and have that, it is easier. Oh, I'll use this. It's easier for your hands if you have arthritis and that type of stuff to hold a larger object and then put the miniature on top and paint from there. It's a more of a comfort grip that way. So that's another thing that can help out. There are also specialty paint brushes that you can get in hobby stores that are fantastic for people who have grip issues. They're actually thicker around the points of grip, and some even have like those old school pencil grip styles. Like when you were a kid in kindergarten learning how to hold a pencil, they'll have grips like that for paintbrushes too. So those are things that definitely help out people who have things in terms of arthritis, in terms of being able to hold a miniature steady. So those are some tips there. Is there anything else you were thinking of, Tanya, that I could try and address that you were thinking of?
Oh, no, it was just a thought because, I joked when we were starting that I'm, bifocal years old, but I realized it's sometimes harder to just sit with a mini for a long time.
Yes. There are also, in terms of visually, if you need something stronger, they do have these fantastic lit magnifiers. They're not cheap. The good ones that actually do what they're supposed to do, they're not cheap, but you can find them on Amazon. And they come on a boom arm like this for my camera. So you can clamp it onto the table, you can have it go up and over, and basically it's almost acting like how the camera is working for me with my miniature right now. It hangs over your mini so you can look through the magnifying glass to the miniature and you can see the details better. It also allows you to sit upright more so you won't fatigue and hunch over because you can lift the magnifying glass up to whatever level you're more comfortable at. The other thing you can do is there are armrests that you can get, and this is just general like if you're reading or whatever, pardon me, my allergies are starting to take over. You can get armrests that you can put onto your desk so you can rest your forearms onto that and then sort of dangle your mini over the armrest as another way to sort of ease up and keep you from getting fatigued while you're painting a miniature. And then take breaks. Quite frankly, take breaks, which I think we're going to take a quick break after we do a quick look at all these green boys. I am almost done with the Tootsies on this last leg. And we'll take a look there, and then what we'll do, just to make sure we have enough drying time happening, because we're going to move on to dry brushing after this, we'll take a look at the contributions. We'll take a quick, like a 5-minute break good for you too, or do you want a 10-minute break?
Yeah,
okay.
Either one.
All right. Tanya, how about you? What do you think?
Between 5 and 10.
Okay.
I've got, I think, no, not 100% sure. I think I'm on the last hand.
Careful what you say.
That's why I said I think.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll take like a between 5 to 10 minute break, and I'm going to recommend that everyone who is watching and participating with us, that you also take a break. Get up, walk around, maybe give that brush a nice good rinse underneath the faucet. Definitely get some sips of water, have a little snack, take care of yourself. Breaks are definitely important when you're painting minis, because trust me, you can get fatigued from doing it and not moving all day. Not that I have ever done that when I was working on a commission. Never, ever. Nope. No, definitely pauses and stops are a good thing to do. Okay, so yes, so here is my guy. Nothing you can do, 'cause I'm stuck like glue. I hope not to this guy, please no. So let's find a different guy. So this is my guy. He is pretty much painted up with the green. Now, I would theoretically, I'd probably go back like I did with this one. This one I did give 2 thin coats of the green. But again, because we're looking at more of a time factor here and knowing that we're going to be doing some dry brushing, I'm going to leave it to just this 1 layer, but I do want to make sure I'm going to go back in. Like I can see right here, there's a little bit of the kneecap that probably is going to need a little bit more paint during the break. But go back through and hit those spots that are showing up really as white dots. You want to make sure those get covered up. But then let this dry for a little bit, and then we can go into the next step when we come back from our little bitty break. But what I want to do now is let's take a look at the submissions that we have going on.
I forgot a face.
I don't know why, but that tickles me that you're just like, oh, that part, because I was doing the same thing first go around. Okay, so here, let's take a look at some people who are painting along with us. We have Ange, Celtic Frog. Ange actually was part of the Red Slotty group too. So here we have a start, a big green boy going along here. We also have Ken Costello, who is joining us again. Whoa, hello, look at this army of green.
Wow.
Okay, so Little M's cheesecake. Oh, too much fun. Look at this. We'd have a paint party happening with these trolls. That is fantastic to see. Robert Jackson has entered. Look at that. Oh, nice. Oh, Noura, yours is looking great too. I like the inception of the
I know, I had to.
that's good. Age of Discovery. Very nice. Moving along. Oh, and this is where, let's see if Twitter will, there we go. Very nice. Yeah. Like I said, this guy is so big and green. And we've taken a look at, oh, and we have Chris Johnson joining us. I believe Chris mentioned it was going to be a family event too, so even better. Oh, that's wonderful. Let's see if we can get a couple more. Yep, we got the family added at the table. How sweet is this? Hey, everyone, and thank you. Oh, it's wonderful to see. And then let me see. Oh, Nick is making some fantastic progress. And I figured we'd have people who are already mini painters who can just go off and running with the colors and do what they wanted to. I am loving that texture. Look at that.
Wow.
That's amazing. Nicely done, Nick. It really is gorgeous. And then we have Dennis Cooper. Again, more green. And TW Billionaires also. More from Ken. Let's see here. Yeah, look at it. That little M cheese. I love it. It's like a whole group of people painting together. That is awesome. So cool to see. And it looks like we're getting into people who are sharing prep-wise, which is fantastic. Okay, great. So I am loving these submissions. Please make sure you keep them coming, because these are fantastic. I have fun. I have fun seeing, especially when people go off the cuff and do their own thing. like Nick did, that's even cooler. Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. All right, so I think what we're going to do is let's everyone, because we want to make sure these minis are nice and dry before we move on, let's take a little 5 to 10 minute break, and then we will come back. Let's say by 4:20, make sure you are tuned back in, and we're going to keep going, but we're going to switch over to dry brushing. If you have other brushes that you prefer to use for dry brushing, for those of you who are more experienced miniature painters, by all means go and grab those, lovely brushes that you like for your dry brush technique. For those of you who are new to painting, I will be using the multi-purpose brush, so I definitely recommend that you go back, clean your multi-purpose brush. That's going to make you get up and walk away for a little bit. Go in and clean that multi-purpose brush. You're going to want to make sure it is good and ready to go for the dry brushing we're going to be doing when we get back from the break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to our starting soon wait screen. And maybe I can get a little timer going too. I'll play around really quick off the cuff. But don't go anywhere. We will be back, and we'll see you in a little bit. See you in about 10, everybody. Bye-bye. All right, hi everyone. We are back, and hopefully you all took your breaks. You got some water. Your mini has had a chance to dry. If you were joining us a little bit after the fact, again, we are painting the Dire Troll from the D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures Dire Troll Paint Night Kit, which is available right now only at your local game store. So if you've joined in, you want to get a hold of one of these lovely guys, along with an all-inclusive paint kit that has paints and other such things as that, then you're going to want to go into and check out your local stores. If you want to find a store that is participating in this lovely program, you can go into and check out. Let me see if I can get the little command going here for us. If you do exclamation Dire Troll, it should pull you into our page, and on that page there is a location option to find a store near you that will have these kits. Also keep in mind, these particular miniatures are also out in blister form, so if you want to just get the miniature itself because you already have paints and brushes at home, that is another option available to you as well. So we basically got the base coat on here today, okay? This is the base coat. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go in and we're gonna do a technique called dry brushing. Now, if you're at home and if you have a whole bunch of brushes and you've painted minis before and you know exactly what I'm talking about, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Use whichever brush you are most comfortable using for dry brushing. If you are new to dry brushing, I will explain how to do it, and we are going to be using the multi-purpose brush for today. However, I do recommend that if this is something you want to keep doing and you want to keep learning how to paint miniatures, I personally prefer the more flat style brushes of a wider width when it comes to dry brushing. But today we're using what is in the kit, and that is the multi-purpose brush. And first what we're going to have to do here is we're going to mix some of these colors together. Now, I know some people might think, okay, with dry brushing, the purpose is to basically highlight and bring out textures of your mini, so why don't we just go in and mix some light flesh with the green that we were just using? Reason being is because those two colors, they don't want to play nicely together. It actually comes out very muddied and very dull, and you almost end up with like this grayish color. It's not a good look. So we're actually going to be blending a few of these colors together. So what you want to do is, again, using the tip of your brush, and we're going to be jumping back into the next well in your blister. I'm going to be pulling some of the Park Green Flat as well as Parasite Brown and the Light Flesh, and I'm going to be using a part system. So it's 2 parts Park Green to 1 part Parasite to 1 part Light Flesh. So think of this as if it were drops, if it were scoops. That is your measurement. So it would be 2 scoops of Park Green, 1 scoop of Parasite, and 2 scoops of Light Flesh. Then you mix it together, and that's going to create more of a vibrant green that is lighter than the base coat green, but it'll still act nicely for highlighting and bringing out the texture that is happening on this Dire Troll. So I'm going to start off again using the base of my brush. I have a paper towel nearby so you can pull off any excess color, and I'm just going to do 2 scoops using the handle of my brush. And you can always increase how much you're mixing. Just make sure you keep that ratio of 2 to 1 to 2. All right, we're getting a little technical here with paint color blends. So that is 2 of the Park Green Flat. Then I'm going to move over to Parasite Brown and get a scoop of Parasite Brown. Make sure you cap your paints when you shift between colors, because if you leave them open, especially if you're in an area where it's hot, you're going to have that dry up on you quickly, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go in and do a scoop of Parasite, and you can see I'm using the edge to just sort of pull the color off the end of the brush. And also make sure you're watching.
Does not want to open for me.
Really? Oh, geez.
Oh,
careful. Okay, good. I was going to say, just be careful it doesn't like spit back at you, because, you know, sometimes they like to do that.
I know. Trust me.
That's not fun. Let me see here. We have Dragon Shadow. Interesting you should ask about WizKids Paint Party 3. I will be making that announcement at the end of Paint Party 2, because you know what? There are more parties planned. We absolutely have more parties planned. But, you know, the party is happening right now. So let's focus on 2 before we focus on 3. But I will make that announcement at the end of the stream today. Absolutely. And keep in mind, we will be ending today at 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 3 p.m. Correct? Did I get that spread covered for all of our areas? Right? Okay. We do have a hard stop time. I'll be stopping East Coast 6 p.m. time, which is 5 p.m. for Tanya, and then 3 p.m. for Noura. All right. So that is 1 scoop. I need 1 more. And then I'm going to start mixing this together, and you're going to see it is a lighter green than the color we've put in, but it doesn't get dull, muddied, and gray. because we're playing around with the colors here a little bit more. But you want to end up with this. I don't want to say mint green is too bright of a green. If you're ending up with a really bright mint green, that's a little bit too bright. Put in a little bit more of the parasite brown. If it's a super, like, it looks like a creme de menthe type of frosting situation going on there. You want this to be more of a muted, I'm going to call it avocado, like almost like an overripe avocado guacamole type of a green. Let's shoot for that. Trying to get more of a universal tone there. So aim for almost a guacamole green. But once you get that mixed together, I am going to wipe the handle of my brush again one more time. Let's talk about dry brushing. If you haven't used this technique before, you're going to want to make sure you have a paper towel at hand, as well as your multi-purpose brush. And what dry brushing is, and it kind of hints to it in its name, you're taking a tiniest amount of paint and you're going to be dragging it across the surface of your miniature to bring out the texture. This is for people who are new to the concept. If you know what I'm talking about and you've done this before, then by all means you can just jump right into dry brushing your troll. But let me show you the technique for those of you who are new. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to dip your whole brush in and get the whole brush bristle loaded with paint. You're actually just going to put a very small amount onto the tip of your brush like so. Okay, a little bit goes a very long way. Then I'm going to go to my paper towel and I'm even going to remove some of that excess paint until I start to see it streaking like what is happening here. All right, that means you have enough paint on the brush where it will leave some color, but it's not going to obliterate and fill in the color that is already on the troll. Then what you want to do is take this brush and you're pulling it almost parallel to the surface of the miniature. Think like 45-degree and lower in terms of an angle to hold the brush. Again, there are a lot of nooks and crannies, so you do the best you can with this model. But you're going to pull across the texture. So I'm going to find a nice spot here. Oh my goodness, could you have any more options? I'm going to go here on the back where we see this texture happening with the muscles and everything like that. So what I'm going to do is pull this across the musculature and just very lightly feather my brush across. And what happens is it starts to bring out the texture of the troll's skin. And you just keep pulling it across gently to bring out more of what is happening with the troll. And you can see that's going on through there. So we're going to do this mix and go around and hit the entire troll. And what's funny is my camera's picking this up very blue. Don't forget, you also have the thing with monitors will alter colors on you. So it might be translating for you as a brighter green than what I actually have happening on my own miniature. So just keep that in mind. You don't want it to be a super bright mint green. But the name of the game now is to just pull the paint off the brush on the paper towel and then pull this across the texture of the body. And you're going to really notice that this makes things like the faces in the torso not come to life. I don't want to say that, but pop out more as you do. And I tend to pull from the bottom to the top when I'm working across the torso area. But you want to make sure that you keep it going in the same direction. You don't want to go up and down. If you go up and down and up and down, you're basically sort of painting a wall. Keep your brush stroke in a similar direction so you're not going back over and inadvertently painting in spots that don't need to get the paint. So that's really the basics of dry brushing. And then once we do this, there's a couple other steps we're going to do while this layer dries so we can get some of those extra details that are happening on the body. And then we're going to look into doing one last round of highlighting with the dry brush method, and then we're going to do a wash. So that's sort of the game plan for the rest of the stream in the next hour and a half. And luckily things do move a lot faster with dry brushing. The most important thing with dry brushing is to keep your touch light. You want to barely feel that bristle brushing across your skin. That is the type of pressure you want when you go in to do this on your miniature. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask in the chat. If you have a question specifically for me in terms of technique, make sure you type in caps question, and that'll catch my attention a lot faster. But yes, we're basically on to dry brushing mode.
I definitely have to hold this away from all of the lights in front of me
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
like notice that, like, oh no, I really am hitting.
Yes. It is funny how lighting can come into play. Oh, see, I have already painted one of these guys, and I'm wondering if this... Is that another face starting to form on the shoulder right there?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. I think that might be another face, and those are eyes. Huh. So there's even more faces than I realized here. Lovely.
Thanks. That was nightmare fuel.
Well, it's not like you aren't used to being in a nightmarish environment once a week.
Right?
You know? Okay, so let's talk about Black Dice Society. I mean, I've very much enjoyed guesting on it as Nika, but you get the enjoyment of being on it every single week and getting to play Van Richten's, which is, for those of you unfamiliar, it's a horror-based D&D game, and it is fantastic. So when you first got approached to play the game, what were your thoughts, and how did you get from point of being asked into creating your characters? Because both of you created these really fascinating individuals, so I want to know sort of the behind the scenes of it.
Tanya, do you want to?
Sure. Well, Dave cryptically asked me if I thought I'd have space to do a thing, and I'm like, probably, sure. Because it's that I want you to do a thing, but I still can't tell you what the thing is. But I want you to do the thing, so hypothetically, are you free? Conversation.
So kind of, what are you doing Saturday night? We just don't know what the plans are yet.
Basically.
Yeah.
And then once he had more details, he could tell me what was going on. He's like, so here's the deal. This is what I want to do. And I enjoy games that Dave runs. And, and it was also a chance to I don't say get away from Celeste, but to do something entirely different.
That's fair.
To be a not nice character on purpose and explore a darker realm. I'd never played any Van Richten or Ravenloft before. So I wanted a chance to kind of step into some different shoes. And then I have strong feelings about the drow. Anyone who's ever talked to me for 5 minutes will discover this. But I wanted to take this chance to kind of do something different with them, and also mess around with the Dhampir since they were coming back. So I was like, how could this work? Because I think until Dave got a copy of the book, we weren't sure if Dhampir or vampire, wow, words are apparent today, was going to be a state of being / an affliction, or would that be a race? Like, would being a vampire be a race? Once you figured out, it's like, oh, it's just a state of being. It's like, oh, well, I was going to do it regardless. I just didn't know like how that would affect character creation. And then, when we had our session 0, and we were all chatting, and Noura was talking about her character, and then Mark Meir, our favorite commander on the Citadel, or cleric on the Citadel, was like, oh, I'm a cleric of Ezra. And then we both were like, what if our characters knew each other? So brother Uriah and Fen have a interesting backstory. Of she saved him as a child from the mist, but it was 20 years ago because she's a drow Dhampir. To her, it was like, whatever. That was like a few years ago, if that. To him, it was basically a lifetime ago. So And the way that we all play, it's just I get to be bad, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
As Dave says, the mists don't come for you if you're a good person.
True.
Yeah. That's very true.
I
I
like
had a
that.
similar. B-Day was also quite cryptic in the beginning because things were being lined up.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the was fortunate enough to be able to play lots of games with him in his because he runs all of the World of Darkness games.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you asked me when I was my like kind of origin story. B-Dave and I got our start on the first stream together. So Inkwell Society was both of our first streams.
Interesting.
So literally anything that B-Dave like asks me to do, I'm like, yes, count. My answer is yes, no matter what it is. So once I found out, like, you know, it was going to be, Ravenloft setting and the dark characters, and he was trying to like, when we were in the preliminary stages of like, well, think about like, what your character background is and all stuff. And I'm very role play driven when it comes to like how I like to play. And so I was trying to think of like, well, if I'm in this setting and this is kind of like a horror and a nightmare, like what would it be like to land in Ravenloft and not remember anything of your life? And so I threw this idea out to B-Dave, like, what if she just like keeps coming back to life and like can't remember anything from her life, like how she got there, who she is. And he's like, funny you should say that.
Yeah.
He's like, because it was like almost just like serendipitous with the reborn in there in Van Richten's now. And so it just kind of worked out perfectly. And I like playing dark characters, but dark in the choices they make, but they seem really sweet. And they do have a good heart somewhere, but they make bad choices.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that always to me is way more interesting than just playing like a just straight up jerk or a bad person.
Right.
It's very interesting to like kind of find like where is that line of morality. And like, are they good? Because they're really sweet and they obviously care for this person, but like, oh, why did they just do that? Like,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
so messed up. Why would, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun. And B-Dave is such an amazing storyteller. So every Thursday is just, I don't know what shenanigans we're getting into, but I know there will be consequences.
Absolutely. God, he gets a look on his face, and you're like, that's gonna come back later. I did put in the chat command. If you want to go and check out the link, do be sure to check out Black Die Society. It is a stunning compilation of talent, concepts, stories that are unfolding. You guys also have it as a podcast too, correct? Awesome. So if you prefer the podcasts, check out Podcast Form and Patreon as well. If you want to support this lovely group of players and DM too. That's really cool though to hear sort of how you got to each of your characters though, because for me it was sort of I got the concept of what I needed to do and just literally like a quick sentence of each of you. And I knew I wouldn't be playing with either of you based upon the storyline that he was unfolding. So I was excited to find out more about your characters and how you got there and everything like that.
The one thing I did tell B-Dave in the beginning is for my character, I didn't want to know. Like I don't have her backstory written out and like, oh, and it's going to unfold. I want to be surprised.
Oh, cool.
I don't want to know. So, because I want that reaction to happen in real time. So that was a conscious decision.
So you're literally very much in the dark about her story and everything. Like that's that's incredible. I like that.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
So when we had that, moment where we did find out, I don't want to spoil it if anybody hasn't seen it, but there is a moment where some things are revealed. And that was I did not see it coming.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you two had planned that.
No.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Not
wow.
the very, like, in the temple, the very first moment that we entered.
Oh boy.
I did not see that coming at all.
Oh, wow.
I wanted the reactions to be like there in real time with everybody else. If she truly doesn't know, just to get the reaction. And that was a very genuine reaction.
I was going to say, mission accomplished. That was intense.
Yeah, I was trying not to cry.
It was
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot, yeah. But for those, when moments like that happen, I feel like it's such a good chance for characters to connect, especially if it's established that the party is just meeting each other and they're fairly new. Like, it's a great chance to establish meaningful bonds with other characters, because now you have these like big moments that you kind of console and share with each other. That really, I think, strengthen the group, and gives viewers a chance to see, like, oh, this is why somebody would fight to defend somebody else. It's because they've gone through a lot together.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a very nice, like, meaningful moment between Fen and Nahara in that episode.
Yeah.
That was a lot. I was trying not to actually cry.
I mean, there are definitely times in gameplay where, yes, you are playing the character, but the emotions they get there and they get intense, and I mean, I have absolutely cried on stream before.
Oh yeah, I was full on crying.
Yeah, I have absolutely. Heartstrings tugged, have started crying on stream. It's a thing for me, totally. But I think it's great, and you're all doing a really incredible job, because I'll catch like little clips and highlights when I can of little moments with each other. Just like, the little behind the scene moments too. They're just so poignant, and they're interesting, and they're clever, and they enhance the storyline that much more. So it's great seeing those coming about the more you're playing and progressing and moving through the story, for sure. Now, someone was asking in chat, how hard is dry brushing on your brushes? Depends on the brush. Quite frankly, depends on the artist. I am wretched to my brushes. I will beat them up to no end. Brushes, they'll maybe last for me a couple of months, which is why I only get cheap brushes, to be honest. I know people who have brush conditioner, treat their brushes beautifully, and they have brushes that last for ages, and I am in awe of that. But if you're noticing that your multi-purpose brush is fraying, just keep in mind you have paint that's sort of building up between the bristles. When you go to rinse this off and it goes to dry, the bristles of the brush will calm down, and you won't have it looking as frayed as it might be right now, for those of you who are asking in the chat. Okay.
I'm heavy-handed with the dry brushing.
Same.
So
I destroy my brushes.
Well, I have somewhere in a box in this apartment is a set of proper brushes,
Right.
that can do everything. And I'm like, I think I've dry brushed. Now he looks like he ran into some acid.
Kind of an idea. When you look at the artwork of the troll himself. That means you're on the right path. Yeah, so, and also multi-purpose brushes, because we're using this for a bunch of different things. This brush is getting used. And are the warts on the leg turning into small faces? There are a couple of areas where, yes, there are facial features popping up. Those aren't warts on the main front top head. Those are eyes. So those are eyes that are starting to pop out of the skull. Okay.
Beep.
Like I said, I just realized I think this is another face starting to form here on the shoulder because there are eyes right there and the start of a nose. You have faces cropping out here on his stomach and chest. Spin it around, and you have, I believe that's an eyeball back there. But then you also have these other textured areas, which are just warts or, pock marks or what have you. But yeah, up towards the heads, there are definitely facial features that are kind of coming to light as it's growing. Because dire trolls are nasty creatures. I mean, basically, to get a dire troll, you take a troll, and the troll has an interesting dinner of fellow troll. And that's kind of what triggers the whole...
Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
They eat their own kind to become a dire troll. Yeah, they're not a creature I'd want to run into.
Yeah, I'm just fixing all my little random white spots while I let the dry brushing dry.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because how now that it's like dry, you're like, oh, there's like spots
Yes.
that I missed.
Yeah, and you'll probably notice as you keep going around, just because, like I said, this is sort of, it's not that we're trying to do a speed paint. We're trying to do a nice little live stream and get people learning how to do different techniques in painting. So as a result, we do have limited time. But if we were taking our time, then yeah, you'd be able to go back, fill in those spots, do another layer and things like that. When I did the test run troll for myself, that took me about 9 hours to paint, all said and done.
Wow.
Going back in and fiddly. But I went to the point where I was like, okay, well, this is great for teaching people, but then I also went back in and I did my fiddly work that I'll do just as a mini painter to fine tune it even more so. Taking it beyond just basic painting skills. But there's a lot happening on this mini.
Yeah, there is.
Which is so much fun to start bringing out with dry brushing.
Yeah, I have a red dragon adult mini I got at Gen Con years ago.
Nice.
I've never built it because guess what they didn't include?
Glue?
Instructions.
What? Oh no.
I found one person on Tumblr who chronicled his own building, and he even went as far as like using, I want to say, a soldering gun or some way to soften the wings so they fit together better.
Ooh. Interesting.
Like, no, he dremeled the wings together because they were not.
He did the pin. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
There are no instructions, no recommended colorways. I mean, it's red, but what shade of red?
Red can be very tricky though for creatures. Because, you could, if you go to your cool tones, then it starts to look almost
Pinkish.
Yeah. But if you go too bright, then it looks cartoonish.
Yep.
Let me see here. Eyes. People like, oh, the eyes.
You know what I started using especially if you get like a 3D printed model and you get like the little pieces of plastic that stick, like the little nodes.
Oh, yeah.
I bought on Amazon a really cheap electric nail file that has like the little bits. And I use that to smooth out all of those areas, and it's really quick and trick.
100%. Actually, nail brushes for nail art, they are fantastic for fine little details on miniatures. They do beautiful work. Like, I will bypass we'll get these mini brushes. I'm like, no, I'm going to the beauty aisle and I'm getting myself some nail art brushes.
Oh, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, they do a beautiful, especially if you get the kind that are the fan, like, you know how like for highlighter stuff you use the fan brush for your cheeks? If you get the nail art that's a fan brush but it's smaller, that's really nice at like getting those sharper highlight lines that you want to do. Yeah.
Those brushes are also really good for if you're ever doing an ombre color, even on a mini, if you're going from like dark to light.
Yeah.
Really good for blending.
Yep.
Huh. I have learned something today.
Yeah, that beauty aisle is chock full of good stuff. Like, okay, so say you're painting those minis that have that transparent plastic on it, and you get some paint on the transparent plastic, but you don't want it there. Just get a Q-tip and get rubbing alcohol, make sure it's at least 70%, and it'll peel the paint off for you. You just have to be very careful. If you get close to the paint and a little bit of the rubbing alcohol gets on the paint, just blow on the paint to dry it, and it won't budge the paint off. It's only if you move it with a Q-tip, or you can even use a brush. but that's a way you can strip off paint from the clear base stands for minis.
See, I've done that, but I've done that with nail polish remover with acetone. Do you think that alcohol is better than the acetone?
Alcohol is better because the acetone can actually melt the plastic.
Oh,
It can change the form of the plastic itself because it changed the chemical composition. It actually will start to melt it. So you have to be very careful with acetone. It's good if you need to do a really quick paint strip and you know you can get that many dipped and rinsed off quickly. But rubbing alcohol, I have found, is the safer stripping option if you want to remove areas of paint. And it's a household item. And I always try and like yoink household items that people will have more readily accessible. All right, so I have pretty much gone through and done the whole body with the dry brush here. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to quickly take another break just to make sure we have a little bit of time to allow this to dry. Although, quite frankly, it is so warm right now, it's almost dry for me. But let's take a look at the submissions again. And here we have Tanya's from before. That was posted of just the green before the dry brushing. And here we, dire troll and a cocktail. You know, that might be a stream on my channel. Minis and martinis.
That could be it.
Yep. Oh, here we have Lauren. Yeah, if I do minis and martinis, who wants to join me? There we go. Lauren's submission with the green. Oh, and here we have some dry brushing, it looks like, happening. Yep. Look at the texture starting to come up there. That is looking good there. Only the one hit point. Oh, dear. We have a couple together. George Woodruff. And that is those are our latest submissions. All right, cool. Nice. Very nice. And Ken Costello also submitted more with, again, the texture coming through. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go to light flesh.
Excuse me.
That's totally okay. We're going to keep doing this dry brushing, but what I'm going to do is use this as sort of a highlighting factor. So this is really, I'm going to focus on certain areas to bring out more of the texture. Do be sure your brush is well rinsed. And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. And you need just a little bit of this paint. It's not that you need to put it into a well. You can actually dip right into the paint pot itself. Same as before. Pull the excess paint off on the paper towel. And let me go back to the main focus.
Light flesh.
Yeah, the light flesh. And I'll test on my own flesh sometimes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on these areas where you have the faces and such. And I'm going to go directly in with light flesh and work on highlighting those out just a little bit more. So they're literally popping out a little more.
Oh, light flesh. Why are you being difficult?
Yeah.
Just open this.
Oh, you got like the tight lids.
Yeah, and I had to open it for the dry brush. I don't know why. Oh.
Maybe it's expanding with the heat.
Oh, that's a thought. Not a good thought, but it's a thought.
Yeah.
There we go.
So basically just keeping the brush to hit those higher points on the miniature, and you'll see it actually starts bringing out even more of those details.
Oh, wow.
On the troll's body. And a little of it is going to go a long way, but once we do the wash, you'll see why doing this step makes a big difference. Because after we do this, we will do the mouth. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Yeah, we should have time to get into doing the mouths at least, and the eyeballs. Or the eyes, I should say, the eye sockets. But the other thing... Go ahead.
Not dry brushing.
Yeah. So I'm also making sure, especially on the brows of the faces, I'm pulling the brush from top to bottom to highlight that a little bit more. Because they are gnarly. And I wanted to make sure we have time to show off what a wash can do, since we've been talking about washes. But yeah, this just makes things literally pop out even more so. One thing I always recommend to people, especially if they're dealing more with like PC miniatures, is to watch beauty channels and watch the people who discuss contouring with makeup. Because a lot of what they bring up are similar points for which you want to keep in mind when you're trying to bring out features on faces and stuff for miniatures.
I just realized how many eyeballs are popping out of this one head.
Right? It's creepy. If one of these jumps out at you guys on a Thursday night, my apologies.
I don't think Dave knows the stream is happening, so
He does.
Don't nobody tell him.
which means he'll show up because we said so.
Yeah.
It's like Beetlejuice, but you don't have to say the name once.
Knowing B Dave is like, bold of you to assume I don't already have one lined up.
Exactly. Exactly. Bold of you to assume. You can hear it.
How many times we've gone? I've gone to death saves twice in 10 episodes.
Jeez. Yikes. And there he is. Yep, he's in the chat.
A wild B Dave has appeared.
That's hilarious.
Hello, sir.
We were just not talking about you.
Not at all. We weren't saying about how this would at all be a terrible thing to add into the mix, you know, because it's not at all horrific to look at and has a terrible, terrible backstory to it.
Wow, Dave. Wow.
Oh, too funny. I apologize for nothing. You don't have to. You don't have to apologize for anything. Oh my god, that was funny.
Oh,
But see, it's like Beetlejuice. What happened?
Oh no, I just realized how much green I painted that hair. The one bit of hair that you said will be black anyway. I got so much green on it.
That's okay.
Is this another face popping out of one of the shoulders?
The one right here.
Yep.
Their left one?
I think I've dry brushed the face.
I don't. There's so much happening with like the
Super
more,
gnarly.
yeah. The more I'm doing the dry brush detail, like there's even more. I'm realizing I'm like, okay, so that's a feature. Oops. And if you ever get a little bit too much on your brush, you can always just take your finger and sort of blot really quick.
Yeah. I'm just getting like.
This-
I'm sorry, Nora.
Oh, this was the mini I stopped when I did that one video of this whole wave of minis that came out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one I stopped and I was like, I just realized all the mouths.
nasty. Oh god. There was another one in the Critical Role set that has a whole bunch of mouths with like tongues lolling out, and I was like, okay. I'm like, this is a nope. This is a full-on nope one for me.
Well, luckily it's painted and it can stay in its box.
Exactly. I don't need to paint this one.
No, the camera's not showing it. All of mine are on the shelf behind me, and they can stay right. That one can stay right there in its box.
It's a creepy one. It really is gnarly.
Forever.
I got a little heavy-handed on one of the faces.
That's okay.
That's-
Because honestly, when we go in to do the wash, it's going to help bring the tone down just a little bit. So that's why.
I'm actually trying to dry brush some of the other dry brushing where it looks like this thing fell in a vat of like lime green acid.
Oh. Although really, that's not considering. It could work. It could totally work.
Yeah, it's bringing out some of the other musculature,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the wash will even it out. So
Yeah, exactly. That's a nice thing about the washes. I think I have to wash my brush, like literally like dip it in some water. Paint's getting gnarly on it. And you may find that your paintbrush is collecting some paint. It's totally a thing that can happen. Rinse your brush off and just make sure you dry it on some paper towel, because you don't want a wet brush to go into a dry brush. I'm not being facetious. I mean, you don't want a very, water-laden brush bristle when you try and dry brush, because then you're just basically creating a impromptu wash. Oh boy. Grinding away on the screenplay, he says. Good luck to you, sir. Yeah, that'll be better.
Ooh.
Alrighty. Gosh, there are so many limbs to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're hitting the limbs too.
Well, I'm on the arms now.
Oh, I thought we were just doing the faces.
I'm doing,
Yeah.
I'm doing like, I try and get like the high tendony areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So they look all sinewy.
Yeah. But if you want to just keep it to like the face area, by all means. But like there are these great little spots of tendon.
Oh, no, yeah, it's fine. I'm just like, I just stretched my arm out for a second.
Oh, totally cool. And I'm also going to do it across the legs, especially like where there are those grody wart clusters.
I never want to hear the word wart clusters.
I know, right?
Ever again.
It's funny the phrases you'd never thought you'd have to say until you're painting a miniature and you're like, yep, that just had to come out of my mouth because there's no better way to describe it.
Yep.
So paint your wart clusters. Oh, God. He's going to make an additional note about wart clusters.
Oh, Dave, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
We're preemptively X-carding that.
I was going to say, this is, I think we're full on X on that one. That's a no.
This is where Fen and Nahara nope out and go to a winery while everybody else, whoever else decides to stay and fight
oh,
this thing.
we've heard of this thing before. Bye.
Like, oh. You know what? I think the carnival's calling. It's time to go.
Right? I totally would.
Nahara holds up any random object. Take me away, mists. I don't care where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll be like, you got that ticket?
Mm-hmm. One-way ticket. I'm good.
Yeah, although I thought Fen could act as a focus to get to the carnival.
Oh,
I don't see why not.
yeah.
That's why I was very confused when specific object was used to get us back there.
I didn't know that you were. I was assuming it had to be like a non-party, like object.
I don't know. I mean,
But your clothes are from there?
Mm-hmm.
I
This is
lived
true.
there. I got here. It's like maybe. Why did I hear that like Bugs Bunny? And he's like, could be.
All right, so I think I'm going to leave mine at this, and hold on, I need to adjust my camera because the sun has shifted enough that it's actually changing things. So,
I need to put this down before I glob on light flesh onto my mini.
ooh, yeah.
I'm done.
My poor brush.
Put down the mini.
And that's just it. Like, you can get to a point where you're almost getting too caught up in it.
Mm-hmm.
So totally understand that one. Let's bring that
Or it
down.
looks like it's gonna start looking like it rolls around in flour.
Right?
I mean, we don't know how you have to cook the other troll to make a dire.
Oh, I don't want to think about that. Like the noms that go into the prep.
Yeah, did he beer batter the other trolls before consuming them?
Okay, so instead of Hero's Feast, you have Monsters Mush or something. I don't know. The cookbook of the monsters, and it's just all like, Baba Yaga's stew and things like that. But here,
No, they just
It's got chicken feet to flavor.
yeah.
you need the good bacon fat and the chicken feet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is what my mini looks like now with the 2 coats of dry brushing. As you can see, there's a lot going on here. And to give this a little bit of a chance to dry, I'm going to move over to, well, first I'm closing light flesh for now. I'm going to move over to the details brush. We're actually going to crack open that beauty. And we're going to jump into, I believe we're going to jump into black red. Bless you.
I didn't have a chance to mute myself.
And we're going to, that's okay. Sneezes happen. So let's jump into black red. Or actually, no, we're going to go into black green first. Take it back. Black green, and we're going to put black green into the eye sockets to darken up the sockets and really make it get a sinister look to it.
Which one was it?
The black green with a detail brush.
Okay.
I'm just going to dip right into the pot. And again, just a little bit of paint loaded onto the tip of the brush. Whoa, did I just look at the chat at the wrong time? Zombie nuggets for an appetizer. No, thank you. The other thing I will do with my minis is I turn them upside down when I go to work in eye sockets, because it's actually easier for your brain to paint it that way because you're not registering it as a face. So it's easier for you to keep that symmetry. And I will blot a little bit onto my hand like so. Oh, and there's a cat hair on my brush. Remove any cat hairs that may have snuck on. And then
I'm so glad my cat is sleeping far away from me right now.
I have 3 and they are all closed out. So basically what I'm doing is I'm starting off where the eye is and I'm doing a little light feathering motion just to kind of darken up that area a little bit more. And that kind of gives the eyes some context without the stress of you're worrying about it being perfectly balanced and getting the pupils and everything like that, especially for beginning painters. But you end up with something that has sort of like this darker, glowering look, and especially when a wash goes into it, it will amplify that. So that is a way to finish your eyes option for those of you who are just starting out with miniature painting. But now I'm going to go around and do that to all of the eye sockets. And I mean all of the eyes and the sockets. So if you're discovering more, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a couple more I just discovered today.
It is black-green for the eyes that we're doing.
Yes, black-green for the eyes. Yep. So it's like a dark emerald green almost. But
There was a beauty in the chat.
okay. Oh, there we go. Yep. Troll meat, new addition to Nahara's collection of spare body parts. So said Squeaky. Oh, this could get interesting.
She is a hoarder of weird things, that is for sure.
I was waiting for Stuart to kill us all.
Right?
You know, it might happen.
You never know. Could still happen, yep. What do you think of those little extra additions of rather involved NPCs? Do you like that for your characters in general? Not just for the game.
I mean, it makes the world seem that much richer, you know, that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
I literally did not know, it was before I got to flip through Van Richten's, I didn't know that a brain in a jar was a thing. I just, Dave entered it into the story and I was like, this is coming with me. This has got to be a thing.
Uh-huh.
And then come to find out, it is actually served us well in some battle moments.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Served us well, or
With some consequences, because whoever happens to be nearby, that shouldn't be.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
it just always cracks me up. I'm like, this is where Stuart killed us all.
You're just waiting for that little turn of events, huh?
You know,
I mean, he's made it very clear he doesn't think much of the rest of the party.
That is
so
true, yeah.
I don't know if this is an eye socket, but I'm just gonna go with it.
That's what I mean. Like, if you think it's an eye socket and it looks creepy. Oh, also the belly button. Put a little in the belly button.
I hope that was the belly button.
Oh, yep. Well, it's in there now. But we'll do this, and then we'll get the red in the mouths. And we can have some fun with a whoosh. Actually, might do the...
This is something that I always have difficulty with, is the super fine details.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm using this as an option, because essentially it's just adding some shadows into the eye sockets. So it'll still have some visual interest, but it's not quite as like you have to make sure you get it exactly so, or you have a wall-eyed Wall-E situation with your mini looking in two different directions at once. Because that can be extremely frustrating.
I tried toothpicks once, that didn't work out well.
No?
No, even a fine toothpick was just like...
Well, again, the nail art kits, they have these little things that are used for dotting. And some of them get really small, and I've used those with success in the past. So,
Well, I do have to make a target run,
I
so.
was gonna say, just grab like a little $8 kit and you're good to go. Why not? And if you follow me, you'll often see my hand gets covered in paints when I'm painting a mini. I always use my wrist as my little blotting tool. And you can too, if you so choose. It just washes off with warm water and soap. It doesn't stay there, in case anyone was worried. Although I have forgotten to wash my hand. And it's been, of course, with like bright red, vivid paints. And I was at the grocery store and someone was like, "Oh, did you cut yourself?" And I'm like, "No, it's just painting." No big deal. Appreciate the concern, but I'm good. I'm gonna call that an eye on the shoulder there. Time to get your backside to the makeup aisle, says Squeaky. Yep, absolutely.
I wasn't going to consider that an eye, but now.
There you go. An eye for an eye, and God knows what else is floating on around here. I think I'm gonna go like, yeah, pick a band, and each head is a band member's name. Is how I'm gonna name this mini. There we go. So just, you know, get that so those sockets are nice and shadowed in. How drastic you want to make it is completely up to you. I think I got them all. So there's that. Yep, okay. So that is with the eye sockets. You go in with the black green. And then what we're going to do is take black red and paint in the mouth. Or the mouths. And get that going. Each head or each face? Each head. I think we'll go with the heads because they're fully formed. So maybe like there's the one on the stomach too that could get a name. Because that's pretty much almost fully formed right there. There's that guy. Ooh.
That's the drummer.
That's the drummer.
Oh my God.
And he's the one who controls all the arms, unbeknownst to everyone else. Who's controlling the limbs? That guy. That guy there. Ringo. Oh my God, make it a Beatles. But then we need the fifth Beatle. What was the name of the fifth Beatle? That joke. Don't say Yoko.
I was gonna say Fall, fake Paul for all the conspiracy theorists.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Dun dun dun.
Okay, so if you're done with the eyes, I rinsed my brush and I'm moving over to black red now, and that is going into the mouth. And it's actually going to go deep inside here. As you can see, this guy has his mouth wide open. I am going to go over the teeth because you can see we have a gum line factor happening up here.
Oh.
Or what color are you using?
Black red.
Black red.
Yep. And you do want to be a little bit more careful in terms of going too far over the lip, but don't worry about the teeth. Because the teeth we can easily go back in with and hit with the light flesh. And what it ends up doing is giving you these awesomely gnarly, gross, rotting looking teeth because of it. But I'm going to go in and do this with all the mouths. Just get that black red in.
So where's the gum line?
They don't all have gum lines, so if it looks like it's lips, you can just paint under that. The one in the front has like this little separation between the lip and the gums and the teeth. That one definitely had it. That doesn't have it on the bottom jaw though. It's just on the
Okay,
upper.
so I'm like, this is where I lose people on the stream because I'm always like, I can't see this.
No, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, it's only on the top. It's not on the bottom portion of the mouth. So it is just a very fine line between. But you'll see it starts to create like this gnarly looking tooth situation, which is fun. Oh, the Rolling Stones would be fun. Yes, I just licked my brush. Don't at me. Bad habit. I've had it for ages. There is a troll, like just the classic troll mini that I painted. And it looks like, when I was painting it, people were like, hey, it looks kind of like Mick Jagger. So I let my chat take over with color selections and stuff, and we called it Rock and Troll. And like the skin is pink, the hair is bright blue, it's got crazy clothes, or rather a crazy loincloth. And it was just so much fun to go off script. But it'd be funny if I named one of these guys like the Rolling Stones group because of that. You'd have Rock and Troll and the others. But yeah, you can see how this just starts giving the mouth this icky, snarly look just by putting in a layer of that black red.
Yeah, it looks like something like chewed on something.
What was that?
It looks almost like maybe they just finished enjoying their other troll.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like, you know, they've been snacking on their own kind, sir. Snack on your own kind. That's where my brain just went. But yep, just get that in with that details brush as best you can. So far it's 3 mouths. You have the 2 heads with necks. There's the one on the side of the stomach. My goodness. There's the one that's sort of a half-formed deal next to the belly button. So that too will get black red.
Oh, so you're going over the teeth with the black red.
Yeah, I don't worry about the teeth because I'm going to go back in one more time with the light flesh. And what it does, it creates a really cool, like, gnarly looking tooth because it's got these greens and reds underneath the color itself. This one doesn't really have a mouth that's opening right there. So that one I'm not going to worry about black red in there. Do want to add a little bit more in that one. Spin it around, and I think the last mouth is the guy who is facing back. Yeah. So this guy over here. Work on getting that in. Oh, such a lovely chap. So here we go. All of the mouths now have black red in them. I mean, that's just nasty. Ugh.
Are gross.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I'm just taking a quick look. And again, if you want to find out information on where you can find both Tanya and Noura, type an exclamation point, their first name, into the chats, and it'll pull up links to their Twitter account as well as what other streams you can find them on as players, which is ever so much fun. And I'm going to rinse my brush one more time. Oh wait, no, I forgot a mouth. Dang it. There's too many mouths. There's one more. I'm glad I just saw that one. You. Come here, you. Open up wide.
Thought you got away.
I thought I got away. The real nightmare about these is that you think you're done, but you're not. That's what makes these so terrifying. There we go.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think I'm going to use that clarification. I think I have all the mouths now. Okay. So give that a quick minute to dry. And again, because it's so hot in my room right now, my paints are drying quickly. So I'm going to go in, keeping with my details brush, going back to light flesh what I'm going to do is run light flesh lightly over the teeth where the mouth is dry. If you try and do it where it's not dry, you're going to end up with pink. Okay? Don't do that. You don't want pink. But I'm just going to blot, and then I know this guy for sure is dry, and then just hover the brush over the twofers. And just get a little bit of the light flesh onto them so they pop out more.
Mine's still wet, so I'll have to be a
Yeah.
post thing to do.
Yeah. But it gives it a really fun kind of a grody mouth look. You know, these guys aren't seeing a dentist. They're not, maybe they take baths. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't speak to them on that one. But, oh, those lovely little quirks. And I'm really just using the tip of my brush. I can get the base out of the way. Using the tip of my brush. Sorry about that, folks. To get what I can before the paint dries, too.
So V, how did you get in the bad habit of like licking your paintbrush?
I loved doing watercolors as a kid, and a lot of times it would be I'd want to switch colors quickly, and my teacher at the time, my art teacher, she would lick the brush quickly to get just a little bit of moisture onto the brush and get the watercolor so you wouldn't like wash the watercolor out and make it like a runny mess. So I learned to, you know, you quick wet the brush with your spit, wet the watercolor, and then go back to the palette. It's how I picked it up. It was one of those little things where, you know, people for ages have used watercolors that way, and it just stuck with me. And I have tried to be good about it, and I'm just like, forget it. It also helps tip the brush a little bit better, so you get a fine point to the top of the brush, which is why I will also do it. I'm gonna get a couple twofers on that one. No, that was the one I just painted, so I'm gonna hold off. On the back, I don't think the one on the back has upper teeth. It's got like this gummy thing happening on top. Oops. Hold on. I got a little bit too much there. Let's go back in with the red. I was paying attention to the chat and not to what I was doing. Oops. Alright. So once we do this, we're going to have some fun and make a wash, so that we can really make these details on the skin pop out. But what I'm going to do is we'll quickly take a look at submissions. So I'm going to take a look at submissions in the next couple minutes. So we can take a look at those, because basically what's going to happen is we'll get this wash on, and the wash is going to need to dry. So if you want to get your submission in after you've done the dry brushing work and getting our eyes and mouths addressed, I'm going to hop onto Twitter soon and take a look at all of that, because you can see now we have the lovely faces, those open snarling mouths about to chomp on their own kind. Maybe. The whole thing is just gnarly. Oof. I rinse my brushes with 2. Now the other thing you can do is, if you want to give your wart clusters more of that fun little bluish tone, you can go in with the Park Green Flat and a little bit of light flesh mixed together. You can do it on just the section here on your blister, one of the side pieces, and you could also do that either before. I'm going to save this for after I do the wash, so just in case. But again, if you type in !instructions in the chat, you'll be brought to a link that will download instructions for you so you can figure out how to finish the rest of your mini based upon all the techniques we did today, looking into the flesh of the dire troll from the Paint Night kit. It'll walk you through how to do the armbands, all those little details, the loincloth, the skulls, everything like that, even the shorts underneath the loincloth there. But for now, I'm going to switch back over to our Twitter submissions, and let's see how people are doing. Is that a dog we're hearing?
Oh, that's from my... Yeah,
okay.
That's me, sorry.
No, it's really cool. Like, this is a new sound. I don't know if it's from me or if it's from elsewhere. So let's take a look at these submissions. So here we have Robert Jackson submitted this. Ooh, that's looking nice. Oh, that's good and sinister. Looking good there. And now we have Dennis Cooper. Oh, look at him. Yeah, we're going to have a whole bunch of creepy dire trolls floating around. And you're doing a great job, too. Look at all those details popping out now. And we have Rob Broad has moved on to getting the loincloth started. Keep going. More Ange, more from Dennis. George Woodruff, we have a couple right there. Let's see here. And I think we're back to, yep, we're back to where we were before. So again, we'll look at these one more time before we close the stream off. Again, the stream is going to stop at 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 3 p.m. respectively. And that way, everyone can go and do what they need to do this afternoon on their Saturdays, but you will be able to follow the guide and work on finishing up the rest of your dire troll. So what we're going to do now, and I have talked about this in the beginning, is we're going to look into doing a wash. Okay, so I am going to slightly shift. Oh, my camera is hot. So I'm going to shift my blister over, and you can see I have the clean water here and one last well that's left nice and clean. So I'm gonna just work on transferring some water over and start getting that to collect into the well. If you have your other water cup that's still clean, you could also just quickly fill up the well. But you want to make sure this well is at least a really good puddle at the bottom. I'll show you what I mean when I get there. But you can just take your brush.
I think I did this backwards.
Did what, the water?
I should have had more water in here. I had like a red cup for my brush water.
Yeah. If you need to jump up and get more water, that's totally cool too.
But I'll be fine.
Okay.
They're just more of a, well, darn.
I understand that.
What paints are we using for the wash?
We are going to be using for the wash. It's
I'm sorry, I didn't know that you were already there yet.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally cool. We're going to do a mix of Beastie Brown with a touch of the black green to get a wash color going. Just to kind of hearken to the color green in the flesh, as well as give it a little bit of a tone, of a sallow tone almost. Okay, so going into Beastie Brown, I'm literally just going to dip my brush in and put in a little bit to start mixing that. And it's gonna give me this light brown mix, like so. Then I'm gonna go over to black green, dip my brush in, see, and then mix that in. And it'll give a darker color. So you get sort of this, it looks lime green for some reason, but you get this darker greenish wash, and that is what's going to go over the body and the flesh areas of the troll. If you want to make this even darker, which is completely up to you, like if you really want to make those recesses pop, you can add in a touch of black as well. But I'm going to keep it just to this level of wash. And I'm using this wash basically to help smooth out everything that's going on with this troll. And you'll see it kind of falls into the recesses. And the thing about a wash is that you don't want it to puddle up too much. So you'll keep moving it around. So I always recommend start at the top of the head and then move it down the body of the miniature. And you can actually have this go into the teeth as well if you want. Again, to keep sort of that gnarly color going. But if you want this to go a darker tone of the wash, add in a little bit of black.
More brown. Mine is not very brown.
Okay. But that's why it's important to save some clean water. And right now the color is really bouncing off my camera of what's wet. So it is not as green as it is looking right now.
Yeah. It's going to be a little more brown.
Okay. Washes are definitely a color preference thing in terms of how intense you want them to be. I will actually go and use a black wash for the loincloth and the other areas of the body. Whereas for the body itself, I want it to be closer to like sort of like a flesh wash that people will use for PC style miniatures. So I tried to create a flesh wash for a troll.
And did you do the wash over the hair too, or it doesn't matter?
You don't have to put that over the hair because the hair is going to get painted over in black and get a different treatment when the time comes. Basically, just keep the wash, if you haven't done washes before, keep it from puddling. And if you find you have areas that are puddling far too much, simply take a paper towel, blot your brush on the paper towel to pull off the excess wash, then you stick the bristles where you have puddles forming, and it wicks away the excess moisture. Like so. And that way it pulls up any puddling you might have happening with your wash. So that's a way you can pull wash off of a miniature while you're applying. Basically just move this around. It is water, Angel Sparks. It is just water, and then you add in a brush load worth of Parasite Brown and then of Black Green.
Oh, that's why I used the wrong brown.
Oh!
Oops.
Or I mean Beastie Brown. I mean Beastie Brown, sorry. Beastie Brown.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what?
No, it was Beastie Brown. You were right. I said the wrong color as I was painting, but it's Beastie Brown that you mix together with dark green. Or black green, rather. The name of the game is just keep it moving on the body.
I like to move it just jumped to my head.
Oh no.
I'm like, of all things.
Oh my goodness. Wasn't that a group? Or no, I'm thinking the Penguins of Madagascar.
Yeah, I mean, they were doing the song.
Right.
But
Yeah. No, I'm thinking like Penguins of Madagascar. They're constantly using this song in their movies. Talk about a group that gets up to no good. Good grief.
those penguins were always trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Feel slightly better about my dry brushing fail.
Oh.
No, one of the faces looks almost like he has tribal paint. That's how heavy-handed I was.
I don't know. That could be kind of cool looking though when all's said and done.
I mean, mine looked like it literally was rolling around in flour at one point. I'm like, I gotta put this down.
No.
So kind of fix that a little.
I was gonna say, is the wash hopefully helping with that tone down too?
That's why I have to keep holding it away from like all the lights just to make sure
Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm doing.
Totally fair. Yep.
But I know I've got like a black or sienna wash around here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh yeah, those are always great to have on hand.
Yeah. I have a bunch of washes, but for the sake of this, I wanted to just use what was in the kit.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. So if you have different paint supplies in your arsenal, you can by all means jump into different washes. One thing you will notice when you make your own wash, you will have to go back in and mix every so often because the pigments do have a tendency to separate from each other once you've watered them down. So keep that in mind to mix your wash every so often. Don't just keep dipping the brush in and thinking the colors are going to be the same, because it will divide and conquer. Sometimes not with the best results. But this is definitely going to be our stopping point for today. Once we get the wash on, it's going to need to dry before you can do detail work. So do be sure to download. It's an automatic. You click the link, it's going to download for you. Download the instruction guide to walk you through how to take care of all those other bits. Every point of instruction on that guide is something you have already done here today with us. So it won't be any new techniques you haven't learned or haven't come across if you're a beginner. Just want to make sure that is very clear for you. Pardon my clearing the throat. Moving on to the legs.
Oh no,
What
I
happened?
dipped my paintbrush into
Paint.
paint.
Oh no! Yeah.
I was like, why does this not look? It's okay. I was able to
pull it off?
just wipe it with
I was gonna
or
say.
just dab it off with a paper towel.
That works. That'll do. That'll
Okay,
do.
better
It's
that.
like, this doesn't look right.
I mean, better that than like your drink.
True.
I have done that before
so
as
have.
well. Like when I get super like in the zone, I have dipped my paintbrush into my drink before. It's not pleasant.
Yes, I have.
But I've never drank out of it afterwards, so
No, I've done the dip like into my tea, but not the sip the rinse water.
yeah.
Which I'd rather do the dip into the tea by accident than drink the paint water.
Exactly.
If there's a lesser of two evils, that is it.
that is it.
Oh, why must you have so many hands?
Right? And it's like, I'm at the point, I'm like, did I get this one? I don't know if I got that one.
Right?
Heck, I'll give it some more if I didn't. I don't think I did get this one.
I think other than the not quite faces on the chest, much
Yeah.
I've already done.
Yeah, I think I've just got all the little crooks and nannies. Okay, so this is, you can see as it's starting to dry. Here on the chest, as it's starting to dry, you can see that the wash has sort of blended the dry brushing together so it has more of a flesh-like look to it now. And as it starts to dry in the other areas, you'll see it gets a more unified look. And it'll end up with something more of a result like this. So I'm going to set this guy down because he needs to dry, and I'm going to show you the completed troll just to kind of walk you through the pointers of what you're going to do after that wash is dried. When that wash is dried, you can go into the wart clusters, as we've dubbed them, and you can take that park green with a little bit of light flesh and go back in and just highlight that texture a little bit more to make it pop out and look even more grody and just wrong on the flesh of the troll. And then you'll also have instructions on how to go and finish the hair, the claws, the bands, the loincloth, the skulls, as well as the shorts that are underneath the loincloth there. But all of that is explained to you, and it's basically a mix of putting on a base layer, dry brushing on a different color, and then you will do a wash. In this case, for the loincloth, it's just a black wash. So you'll create a wash using the black paint, and you put it over the loincloth, the skulls, the bands, and everything like that. So that's really what's left with the troll. It's just right now we are running out of time, and it also needs to dry before you really move on to doing anything further with this, because we've just applied that wash to sort of unify everything. The thing you don't want to do is go back in and start pulling the paint off, because the paint's been I know people don't like this word, re-moistened a little bit, and you have to be careful with it when that happens. So again, go in and type in instructions or hit exclamation point instructions in the chat, and that will pull up the link for you. It looks like there is still a link that's floating around recently that can be used in the YouTube chat at least. So in Twitch, you can do the same thing, exclamation point instructions. I'm going to jump back over to our submissions check using the WK Paint Party 2. let's see what our latest contributions look like. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here we have Ken Costello's. A little bit more work done there. Looking good. Oh, look at the detail with the faces coming out. Very, very, very nice. That's looking good. I'm happy about this one. Look at this army of trolls.
He's got his own K-pop band.
Right? Forget band, you got an orchestra happening here. This is amazing. Oh, I love that. So that again is the Little M's cheesecake. Fantastic work, everyone. So much fun. And here we have Ange. Again, with the little details happening. And Noura. Da-da-da. Oh, yours is looking so good.
Dang, Laura.
I like the background too. It really makes it pop. That's looking awesome. Let's see who else we have going on here. Chris Johnson. Adding in some highlights.
Nice.
Yup. Okay. Thanks, David. Good to know. Okay. Only one hit point. A little bit more work. Ooh, look at the one face there and like the center one above the stomach, the belly button area. That one looks great. Good details on those faces.
Yeah.
And we have Lauren. Lauren, yours is looking good too.
Nice.
Very cool. What else we got going on here? Robert Jackson. I think this is the one we started off with last time, but I really like the limeish green tones, like the more vivid. That's the cool thing. Like when people start to mix paints, it can kind of take on different directions, and that one's looking really, really very cool. I'm liking that one a lot. And here's from Dennis Cooper. These are fantastic.
So
yeah, everyone's done a really great job with these. Very, very cool, everyone. Tanya, did you get yours in recently, or?
Yep, I just
Did it? I was gonna say. I saw you taking pictures. So let's see. There we go. Let's see here Tanya's work. This guy has so many limbs. My goodness. That's a lot of green. Oh, it's looking great. Ooh, look at the texture on the back. That looks really good. Loving it.
Looks great.
Oh, yay. Everyone's doing so well, and I'm having so much fun doing this with you. So yes, obviously we're not going to have enough time to finish the rest of the troll, but the work that you have left on this guy is honestly not going to be nearly as much because you're not covering as much surface. It'll probably be like another hour and a half tops would be my guess, because a lot of this you can start painting one thing, move on to the next thing, and then go back when the paint's dry and do a couple more bits of detail. But this is what you'll end up with as you go through and you follow that guide step by step to get you where you want to be. So this is the D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures Dire Troll Paint Night Kit, which is available in stores only. This is not something you're going to find online. This is only at your local store. So if you want to go and find a store near you, you can click on that link that I just put up in the chats. It'll give you all the information you need in terms of you plug in your address, how far you're willing to travel, and then you can find stores that carry WizKids products. I do recommend you give them a call ahead of time when it comes to paint night kits, because sometimes they only have a limited number of supply of kits for these, so you want to make sure they have them on hand. Don't forget, you could opt also just buy the troll in its blister and get a hold of similar color paints to recreate the look that we did here today. This will also be up as a video on demand for you as soon as we are done. I just got to tweak and fine tune a couple more things, so you can always come back and review some techniques that you saw. And oh my gosh, there's a cute little fuzzy. Got to stop for the cute fuzzies. I love it. Cutie cats. So you can always grab those as well if you want to do that instead. If you don't have access to a kit, that will work too. Now, because we're having so much fun with these, we absolutely are planning on doing more of these paint parties. So yes, there is going to be a WK Paint Party 3 happening in July. And our special guest painters, I am so excited because I'm getting some lovely people joining me for all of these. So in July, these are who our guest painters are going to be, and I am thrilled to bits. We have my darling friend Eugenio Vargas as well as Brian Gray, and we're doing a fun little twist on the Red Slod paint kit. Believe it or not, folks, that Red Slod paint kit will also paint you a green one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in, and let me go to the main screen again. We're going to go in and using all the paints from the Red Slod paint night kit. So if you have your paints left over from your previous kit, just go and buy the Red Slod mini, and we're going to do this to them. So it goes from red.
Nice.
Hold on. Taking it from the red to the green. Okay, so that is the plan for July. Let me flip back to that announcement screen. So
Awesome.
as you can see, thank you. As you can see, it is going to be July 16th at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is on a Friday afternoon. Looking forward to having a lot of fun with that one and cannot wait to see how these guys do because neither of them have painted minis before. So this is going to be their first jump into the mini painting pool. But yeah, definitely come and join us. I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of fun, and you can learn some more on how you can extend the use of these kits because quite frankly, I think I've gotten about 5 more minis out of the paints from just the Red Slot Paint Night kit, just painting different miniatures and everything like that. There will be other paint night kits coming down the pipeline. Yes, there is going to be a Death Tyrant paint night kit as well as a Bone Claw paint night kit. We're looking at early fall for both of those. I will have more announcements in terms of when we will be doing the paint parties for them as well as the guests for those paint parties. So keep your eyes out and make sure you follow WizKids on all of our socials as we make those announcements so you know when to tune in and what to expect. But yes, do be sure to reach out to your local game store. If you are a game store who has been hanging out with us and had some of your customers hanging out and painting, make sure you tag us and share your photos. Don't forget to use that hashtag WKPaintParty2. And also right now in the chat, just put out your store name and you can even put in email or something or a phone number if you want people to reach out to you. So give us your information there and we'd love to see who's been joining us in terms of retailers and stores as well. So you two, thank you so much. Noura and Tanya, you have been fantastic. I have thoroughly enjoyed chatting about painting and playing and character creation and how B. Dave terrorizes all of us and everything of that sort. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your sharing and everything that has gone along with it. And if you end up finishing your multi-limbed, multi-head fellows, I can't wait to see what you do with them too. So before we go, by all means, please, I want you to have some time, plug where we can find you, let us know what's going on, and then we'll give this a nice little send off so that everyone can go on their merry way. I will start with you, Tanya. Where can everyone find you and what's going on with you?
Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Central, I get to hang out with your next guests on Rivals Waterdeep. So I'm going to give them a hard time about never having painted minis. I'm not really going to, but I might a little bit before we go live. So that is for 2 hours over on Rivals Waterdeep. And then for those who didn't see on Twitter, I don't know who follows me on the Twitters. I am actually part of the inaugural games jury at Tribeca Film Fest. And I get to play a lot of cool games and be part of a jury, including Reggie Fils-Aimé, Elijah Wood. Oh God, what are the other 2 people's names? Because I forgot, because I'm terrible. But yeah, we get to do that for the very first time. Tribeca, so I'll actually be in Vee's neck of the woods. And then, like I said, Celeste is coming to Idle Champions on Wednesday, June 9th. So I'll be in and around some streams showing her off.
Here we go. I got the little
Nice.
Celeste pulled up there.
Yeah.
So let's get that showing. And then you said, I'm going to see if I can find the Tribeca one for you. Was it recently you tweeted it?
Yes, let me see if I can find it for you. Because I tweet a lot.
You do. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Ding. Here we go. Tribeca, right?
Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
That is.
So there we go. So there is the information about Tribeca as well. And now, Noura, before we have to say goodbye, let's find out about where we can find you and all that goodness. Thank you so much, Tanya. Really.
Welcome.
Hello again, everyone. I am Noura Ibrahim. Thanks for inviting me, Vee, to paint with you guys. This has been so much fun. You can catch me at Neurological on all the things. And I stream Mondays and Thursdays currently on Realmsmith and D&D. I'm on Fridays on Q Times with B Day for his World of Darkness. I think we've got one more thing lined up, but we're taking a couple of weeks off because there is going to be a new vampire game that's going to be premiering next Friday, but will be after that just every Wednesday. And I'll have all the details, so just follow me on things and I'll keep you updated on stuff that I'm doing.
Fantastic. Again, thank you so much for joining. I have had a blast. Hopefully, you've all learned some fun tips and tricks on how to start getting into miniature painting, things about miniature painting you may not have been aware of before, and, you know, different sources like, hey, go out and buy those nail art brush kits, because seriously, they are very helpful. Keep in mind, WizKids, if you want to find out what's going on with our live streams and our video on demands and unboxing videos, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, follow button, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitch. Make sure you do that. And also, if you're on YouTube, ring that notification bell and you can find out when we go live with our streams. Much Ado About Gaming with Jessa Blackthorn, which is about our board game lines. And you can check me out every Wednesday for Mini Mayhem over on WizKids at 12 p.m. And that is basically all things miniature for our RPG lines. Until July 16th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, with two more lovely noobs who I get to bring into miniature painting. I will see you on the flip side on my own socials as well, which if you type in !V, that will all come up for you too. You can come and check things out there. I'm going to wrap up my stream like I like to wrap up all of my stream. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. I'll see you on the flip side. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.